we'll get to it. But like, dude, interesting night of fights. Interesting night. I was a little
So
salty at
interesting.
myself for missing your FaceTime because like I realized like I would have just started going off about fights, but almost better that we didn't, I guess, so
Yeah.
we can go off about them right now.
Yeah, for sure. It's always that delicate balance, right? And I know you're trying to watch them, and you're already going to be up late and stuff. But yeah, now you know why I FaceTime. Like after watching that,
Oh
how could
yeah.
you not, right?
Well, and just so you know, bro, I just watched Sterling Aljo this morning. I saved that for this morning. So I didn't know, or
Sterling
Aljo
Young.
Yan, yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't know the result of that until 10 minutes ago.
Are
Yeah,
you
I'm shocked.
serious?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I can't
Woo!
wait. I can't wait to dive
We
in.
got plenty to dive into. But yeah, this is episode 38 of the Beefy Boys Breakdown. You can subscribe to us on YouTube if you like video podcasts. But if you like audio podcasts, we have the audio everywhere you get your audio podcast. So if you like MMA, you like podcasts, support your local Beefy Boys. And yes, episode 38, we're going over UFC 259. And it's like the headliner was Adesanya Blachowicz, obviously. But I mean, it's almost like feels disrespectful to not mention the other massive names such as Amanda Nunes. And, this card was stacked to the gills. We had Hall of Famers on the prelims. That's how
Yeah, man.
stacked it was. So, yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun. And as prelims, McGee, those early prelims, was I disappointed?
Dude,
I texted you
the
twice. And I'm like,
greatest early prelims ever, I think. Like if you consider the first like what, 4 fights early prelims if you want to, or 5
I
fights
think it was
technically.
5 last
I mean,
night.
we were at
Yeah.
15 deep last night, so they actually had like it made sense to have 5 early
Yeah.
prelims, 5 prelims, and 5 main event. Wow, for the first time ever, it made sense. UFC, congrats.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, when there's one fight and it's like, okay, you want me to get fight pass like for like one fight? Yeah, no, it's a little much. But yeah, last night it made a lot of sense, and it made a lot of sense that they actually put the early prelims just on regular ESPN Plus. I think they're starting to figure it out, starting to feel
I
like
think they're
people
going to
weren't
start
really.
doing that.
I bet the numbers on those early prelims fights were just dog shit, and they're like, all right, what are we
They had to
doing here?
be
We got to
literal
change.
trash, and like that's
Yeah.
like shooting yourself in the foot. Like we talk about, like use the early prelim on like your ESPN Plus platform to at least build your young guys. Like at least do something for yourself.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think that a lot of that happened last night. Also,
I
I don't know
mean,
if this
yeah,
happened to you or you didn't watch it live. So somebody was trying to watch it live. The early prelims on every website and everything I looked up, the same sources I use every week, said that the early prelims are going to start at 3 p.m. on the West Coast. I turn in at 3 p.m. like on the nose, and the fucking Trevin Jones Mario Bautista fight's over. I have to rewind it. I'm like, literally, what the fuck are we doing here? Did they start it at like fucking
I
52 or
saw
something?
2:30 for West Coast.
2:30 West Coast. Man, all my shit betrayed me. Everything I read said 3. But yeah, man. So I no harm, no foul. I rewinded it, but yeah, I was a little salty. But yeah, so starting off these early prelims that were bangers. We have Mario Batista at -230 fighting Trevin Jones +190 underdog. Fighting at bantamweight, which I always find it interesting when like the titles being fought on a card and then that division's fighting on the same card. That always adds a little spice.
They did a lot of that. They did a lot of that tonight. As
Well,
far
there's
as
so
like,
many weight classes, you kind of hard not to,
it's
right?
fair. It's
There's
fair.
4 different
Three
weight
three belts
classes
represented.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So yeah, we got the bantamweights fighting, but round 1, man, Jones looked real good in that clinch. He landed some knees, some leg kicks. I was having a little bit of stream troubles with the first round of that fight, so I don't have the most in-depth analysis, but it looked to me like Trevin Jones was handling biz in the clinch, so I gave him 10-9.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I thought, side note, Mario Batista, swaggy mullet. Usually I'm team mullet, Tanner Bozer, like I like the mullet in the octagon. But yeah, Trevin Jones, man, looked really good. And what's crazy is his last fight was against Timur Valiev, who people were huge on. Trevin Jones won the fight in that second round knockout after he got 10-8'd the first round.
That's right. I forgot about that crazy-ass fight.
And this was the exact same thing, bro, except he didn't get 10-8'd in the first. He literally did all of his setup for 5 minutes and then landed the inside hook. And it's the exact same thing he did to Valiev. And it was almost like a hook uppercut. It was like a weird little thing.
It's like a lead uppercut, it looked like to me a little bit.
Right.
I mean, just gorgeous, man. I mean, that is, unpredictable, unorthodox. Like, that's why you hear so many people say, like, boxing for MMA is different than boxing with those big 16-ounce gloves on, because like an elite uppercut
Those
in
windows.
traditional boxing may not be the most like effective route, but you can sneak that little 4-ounce glove up under that chin and split the guard with it, and that's essentially what happened. And it was nice. I mean, you don't necessarily think of Trevin Jones as like the headiest fighter, but I mean, it was a very like high level move. I mean, it was gorgeous.
And unfortunately for him, he didn't even get his win over Valiev because he had tested positive for marijuana within the week of the fight. But to explain that to fans that are wondering, he took the fight on 34 hours notice, and it's legal to smoke marijuana in Guam. And so he literally was just like off of his couch, like didn't smoke like in the 34 hours leading up to the fight, just tested positive because he had already done so before.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it's even like USADA doesn't test for it outside of camp or outside of fight week or some shit like that.
It's just the commissions that test for it. USADA no longer does.
Exactly. So it's real kind of in a gray area right now with cannabis. So yeah, to see him have to forfeit a win is over a high level guy like Valiev. That really does suck. But yeah, Trevin Jones looked good. He was, like I said, you can kind of try to look over Mario Batista if you want, but Mario Batista was a minus 230 favorite. So for Trevin Jones to knock him out, or like what was decently early in the second, if I do remember right,
57 seconds into the second, I do believe it was.
Yeah, I mean, what more do you want from Trevin Jones? I thought he looked great.
I honestly, man, I was calling for a Jones knockout in this fight, which is crazy because the odds on it like plus 400.
Wow.
Yeah, so, and I'll say that was some luck, but what I noticed in his first fight was that, even though he was getting his ass whooped against Valiev, he finds his timing. Like, he's sitting in there eating shots to find his timing, and you can see it, it's almost like you can see, it processing in his head when he gets hit. He's like, all right, where was that at? Where did that come from? How fast was it? I think he might be a problem for some strikers coming up in the UFC. Like, a grappler, maybe not as much trouble for him, or maybe more trouble for him. But a guy with good striking that just relies on his timing and speed, Trevin Jones is going to be a problem for that guy.
Well, and man, I mean, I know we talk about this all the time, but how deep is this bantamweight division? This was an unranked fight, and it was low
end too. Low end as far as where the actual tiers of fighters are too.
Yeah, low end on the tiers, high end on the talent and ability, because I mean that division is stacked. And one last little parting note on Trevin Jones. Sounds exactly like Cheech from Cheech and Chong.
What is up with his voice, dude?
Did you hear that?
What the fuck was that? Yeah.
Good time to win, man. It's I mean, not a Latino fella. Maybe he is. Or he lives in Guam. I mean, that's in Asia, right? I don't know what's going on there. But
this is a little off subject, but Philippines and Guam are supposed to be Spanish Asia.
You're right.
That's what they say.
But just straight Cheech Moran, I was dying. I couldn't take it seriously. I was like, "Is this a shtick? Is he running material on me right now?"
Dude, and he's got the crazy buck teeth in the front, so it does not help the voice to be less apparent at all. Poor guy.
Oh man, that voice I'll never forget that voice. It screeched through my it was hilarious. But
he's like, "Yeah, Joe, what we need to do is just get in there and sit in the pocket and throw our shots." And you're like, you're from Guam? And I think he trains out of Texas or something. So it's where is that all from?
That fool's definitely smoking weed with a bunch of homies. You know what I'm saying?
The most.
Yeah, man. I don't know. He's chilling with somebody's Theo a little too much or something. But yeah, man, we'll keep it pushing, man. Because that was a hell of a way to open the night. Like I said, it was satisfying too. Like I said, I was dealing with stream struggles. I missed the start of the early prelims, so I was a little bit frustrated. And I was like, all right, well, to make it through all that bullshit and to fucking, at least we got some bangers.
Were you streaming the entirety of the card, or just what am I trying to say here? Were you on ESPN Plus to start this?
I was, man, and I don't know if that had to do with me rewinding. ESPN Plus's app sucks dick on anything that's not a phone. Their website's all right on PC. Their phone app is pretty solid. But when I'm up in Tahoe, when I'm trying to use their smart TV app, they have a sick ass 70 smart TV up there, and when I'm trying to use that app, it sucks dick and always fucks me. I always end up having to cast it from my phone. And then the PS4 app sucks pretty big dick too. It's so like
I use Xbox
friendly.
app. It's not user friendly because you have to do like 1,000 times fast forward, and it's not fast, and like you can't find your places easily. If you drop the controller and hit like the R1 or L1, it jumps to the next video, and you're like, "Are you shitting me?" And it doesn't save your spot as to where you stopped watching. Yeah, you're not wrong. We've talked about this before. How ESPN's Plus, their interface is shit, and they own Disney Plus, which has a great interface. So I don't understand where that disconnect is. The same programming.
Yeah, no, it makes zero sense at all. But I guess that's our soapbox for that moment. We'll keep it pushing because this next fight, another outstanding performance coming at you. We got Uros Medic making his debut as a -175 favorite. He's undefeated, taking on I'm going to say Alon Cruz. Alon. Plus 150 underdog. And they're fighting at lightweight. And like I said, just kept the entertaining early prelims rolling.
Yeah, honestly, man, Uros Medic, I thought it was super interesting. By way of Russia, trains in Alaska. He's based out of Anchorage so that he can be on U.S. soil for, visa reasons. Smart,
probably a short flight too, from depending on what part of Russia he's from. If he's from the I guess eastern part of Russia, I'm not sure.
That's where Jan's from. He's from Yekaterinburg, Siberia. Siberia is that top right corner of Russia. So like for Jan, he's actually pretty close to Anchorage. I don't know if this guy knows him or is even related in any way, like camp wise or anything. But yeah, like you're saying, if you're from that like far eastern part of Russia, then I think St. Petersburg is the city that's over there. I could be wrong. I don't know Russia that well. But yeah, I don't think Anchorage is that far.
Sure you don't, comrade. But no, I was like, well, anybody that chooses to go live in Alaska is a savage. You know what I'm saying? Shout out my boy Rico. He put in some time out there in the far north.
That's beyond the wall, Game of Thrones style. Alaska's a different beast, but I could honestly see fighters going out there and being really, really a good training spot for them. You got elevation, you have extreme temperature for like sitting in ice baths, shit like that. I don't know. Makes you focus.
Get your Rocky 4 on, I feel you. But yeah, man, said round one, Medic came out and just looked amazing. It was a mauling. He got Cruz out of there real quick.
I said Cruz got his ass whipped from A to B, brutally too, man. I think Medic outlanded him 50-0 officially. And honestly,
48-0 on the strikes. That's some Chimaev level dominance. It was a smashing.
And who was the ref? It was
I think it was Mark Smith. Was it?
It was Mark. Yeah, it was Mark Smith because Joe Rogan was talking about how he was like, no, Mark Smith is always good about stopping the fights on time. And he was like, I don't know why he's not stopping it here. He started turning on him.
Man, I don't know if I'm just savage or what. I was 100% fine with the stoppage. I thought
I was fine because
being way too dramatic about it.
Me too, because Cruz wouldn't stop rolling over and turning away and shielding, and that's intelligent defense.
Intelligent defense, dog, don't change the rule. If you want to change the rule, change the rule, but don't get mad at somebody for following the rule.
Yeah, don't redefine it in the middle of a competition.
Because the rule, as it's written, is intelligently defending, and Cruz was moving his hands, rolling over, just doing everything he can. Was he getting destroyed? Yeah, he was.
Yeah, was he throwing any strikes back? No, but it's not. Is he intelligently offensive? It's is he intelligently defensive?
Yeah, it's not. Is he losing the fight badly? That's not the rule. You know what I'm saying? It's
it could be a 10-7, and he could still be defending himself.
Exactly, bro. That's the reason why 10-8s and 10-7s exist. You know what I'm saying? No, granted, it did. When it was finally stopped, did I kind of exhale and take a sigh? I was happy to see it stop, but for them to kind of just go in on Mark Smith, and I'm not trying to overly defend Mark Smith, but yeah, I just thought they were a little dramatic about it. It was a brutal ass whooping. But was it a late stoppage? No, I think those things can exist simultaneously.
I feel like Mark Smith kind of showed why he was the best ref in the game last night.
And he didn't get involved. If that would have been Herb Dean, not only would it probably have been an early stoppage, but he would have been literally had his nose up somebody's butthole the whole time somebody.
Yeah, he would have been taking elbows to the face from the hook, swinging back. You know what I mean? Dude, Herb Dean needs to chill out. But yeah, I mean, Mark Smith was the ref for Jan Sterling as well, and we'll get there. But I mean, him and Herzog are my two favorite refs on this card. Like, fuck Herb Dean, fuck Tognoni.
Yeah, for sure. You noticed there was no no nonsense Keith Peterson.
There was a lot of nonsense last night.
we needed some no nonsense Keith Peterson.
We did not have the nonsense Gestapo Keith Peterson.
But Medic won his debut. He's now 7-0. Looked fantastic. He's another lightweight, as if that division needed another foreign killer. But yeah, that's what they got on their hands, man. He looked great. Now, you can always kind of make the counter argument that it's like when somebody destroys somebody that badly, you don't learn that much about him. But I think we did learn that much about him. We learned that he's a fucking monster. And because, I mean, Alan Cruz was a plus 150 underdog. So
right, so it should have been close.
Exactly. Vegas thought it was going to be closer.
I thought that exact same thing, man. I'm glad you bring that up because, like, the perception of this fight was that, like, this was a hard test for Medic to prove that he was, like, a really solid fighter. Well, if that was the litmus of what they were looking to see, he might be a top 10 based on that. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the real odds based on where, like, Alon Cruz is at and where he is at.
True.
So
yeah,
maybe
like,
that could be Vegas's mistake, or that could be, like, the birth of, like, a young star. Like, we just don't know yet.
Yeah, man, and he got a performance of the night bonus. So he got $50K in his debut. That's always cool to see. I think he deserved it. I thought it was pretty cool in the post fight. He totally like fangirled over Joe Rogan, which
it was tight.
I probably would do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? But it's crazy just because Joe has been doing that same job since the inception of the UFC, and really since the inception of Joe Rogan's really career into the public lexicon.
Yeah, when 97 is that when he started doing it? I believe.
I think, but like since the early days, man, and since the early days of Joe Rogan, he had back when his testosterone was natural and he had hair, but anyway, he has risen to such a mega star that it's almost like, I don't want to say distracting, but it's hard for him to kind of do his job because like guys like Medic are just like. It's insane, man. It's just it's cool. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I love it. But it's just cool how, like, he's grown so much and the UFC's grown so much since they both kind of started this journey together in a way.
But, like, imagine – this is how I was looking at it. I was like, imagine if, like, Oprah or Jay Leno was, like, interviewing you after your fight and he was also your commentator for your fight. Like, that's essentially what's happening. Like, it's a personality in the media of that level.
Yeah,
that's his job. It's just so crazy.
It's really cool, man. But yeah, Medic looked fantastic. Got that $50K. I'm definitely looking out for him in the future. Yeah. Any comments?
Yes, Cooper Meany let us know. He said Joe Rogan's on another level with the consciousness.
Oh yeah, for sure. Woke dude who ironically spends most of his time talking shit about woke people, but yeah, man, we'll keep it pushing, man. Thanks for watching, Coop, big supporter, and we'll keep it pushing. The first ladies of the night, we got Olivia Renata Souza plus 180 underdog. However, she was the 15th ranked strawweight, and we got Amanda Lemos minus 220. Savage, like. You know, the rankings, McGee and me was always like, it's always interesting whenever the ranked fight is the underdog. But whenever you saw Lemos bust out those skills, man, you understood very quickly why.
Dude, Lemos has crazy nice hands. And Souza, you know what? This was a weird fight to me. Do you think this stoppage was the right time?
I literally took the words out of my mouth, bro. I was about to say it. I don't know if I was just feeling salty last night. I thought it was early. I was fine with the quote-unquote late one, and then I thought this one was early. I was like, damn, am I just an asshole? But, like, I don't know.
I thought this was early but not unwarranted, which is, like, the weirdest way to say it. Like, because Souza was just getting her jaw beaten off of her face for 3 minutes to the point where she was, like, dropping at any shot that connected clean.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting factors here. One of those factors being the fact that it was a strawweight women's fight. And it's like, you could argue how much damage is really even going to happen, even if she does just keep rocking her shit. Like, you rarely see, like, really, like, bad, dangerous damage in a strawweight fight. Not saying it's impossible. We've seen the big hematoma on Joanna, and things can happen.
But that's still even accumulation, like that just happens to anyone after enough strikes hit.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where I feel exactly what you said. I felt like it was early, but here's exactly how I worded it in my notes. I said that it was an early stoppage, but Souza stood no chance. So it's like you might as well. And I think Herzog was the ref, and I think Herzog was like, and that's kind of what DCU said afterwards. Like, we all kind of saw the writing on the wall, but that's a dangerous game to play, man, because in fighting, anything can happen. We've seen people come back from the brink. Like I said, they were strawweights, so if there is a division where it's not gonna be as dangerous, it's that one. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm fine with it. I'm not gonna die on any hills. But we were talking about stoppage, but it was essentially just due to this, just overall domination. Whether it was standing up, hitting her, or she eventually fall down and it kind of turned into ground and pound towards the end. But either way, it was just utter domination. And but Herzog actually stopped it on the feet correctly, right? That's why we're kind of saying it's early.
Souza got dropped and then didn't get any more shots. Like, she didn't need any more shots. She just got dropped and was staring at Limosh, had her hands up, ready to defend. And Herzog was just no, come on. And that's what it felt like. It was a mercy stoppage. But that's not the ref's job.
That's not the ref's job to feel bad for anybody. Like I said, she was the higher ranked fighter. She's got to be able to defend herself. Up until that point, I was saying how that it looked like Souza had a nice chin, but yeah, she that chin faded real quick. But Lemos, it looks like an absolute beast. Like I said, how many strawweights can you use the word dangerous to describe? Not many. Now, you can use other words. You can use really skilled or, insane cardio or really tough. I love strawweights. I'm not trying to shit on them, but what I'm saying is the word dangerous isn't often. It's almost like Davison Figueiredo.
I was just, bro, he took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly the same thing. It's power that's unnatural for your weight.
Yeah, exactly, man. So I don't know. Like I said, who knows how high she can ascend? The strawweights are absolutely jam-packed. I think this was a prime example of it. She probably steals Souza's 15th ranking, which I'd be fine with.
Yeah, absolutely.
But looks like a monster. Looking forward to see what she can do in that division, because that's a division full of strikers, and she's another striker. So, could be interesting. We'll see how she does, as that competition increases. But looks like a beast.
Yeah, I think for Souza, what's next? Very much up in the air. For Limosh, what's next? Probably a girl right around 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun to see, man. That'd be a lot of fun to see. You got to even wonder how many people are even raising their hand or are super stoked after watching that performance. It's going to take the right fighter at the right place of their career, and I don't know, just somebody that's been itching to fight for sure. I didn't actually write down the strawweight rankings, but I imagine she'll get the little increase in competition. They said I'm looking forward to it, but we can keep it pushing, because speaking of beasts, man, we got a problem on our hands with this next guy. I really believe, man.
I believe in it too. And Paul Felder's been preaching it from the rooftops for a year now. And the last time, we'll just go ahead and introduce it. 170 pounds, Jake Matthews, plus 180 underdog versus Sean Brady, minus 220. Dude, I love this matchup. Just off the rip, before it even went into the cage, the actual matchup of these two dudes was sick, because both these guys are just buzzsaws. Felder's a teammate of Brady as well, so that's why he speaks so highly of him.
Yeah, he has the inside scoop on him for sure. Yeah, Brady was 13-0, undefeated coming into this fight. So anytime a guy has that goose egg, it's a lot of expectations, a lot of hype, and man, did he deliver, man. And I loved it, because with those prospects, with those undefeated records, we've seen it plenty of times. They come in almost cautious, trying to defend that goose egg. And he came out aggressive, man. He wasn't necessarily afraid to lose his undefeated record. That undefeated record, we've seen it be a blessing and a curse for certain young up-and-coming fighters. And he seemed to use it as a blessing rather than a curse.
Yeah, we actually had a few undefeated fighters on this card tonight. Holberg was undefeated. Brady was undefeated.
Yeah.
Adesanya was undefeated. It was odd.
Yeah, great point, man. But yeah, man, Also, wanted to make the point. Brady has the best ink in the UFC.
Yeah,
Like
it's the color
quality,
work on it's so good.
his stats were so sick. Like he made me want to go get a Japanese piece, like right, like as I was watching it, like he has some sick Japanese ink. I don't know, I just not really that matters, but it just stood out. You know, you see a lot of ink in the UFC, and you see a lot of bad ink in the UFC, and
God
his was
damn, do
just
you ever?
his was impeccable. So shout out to whoever the fuck does Sean Brady's ink, man. Like seriously, that's like he needs to like somehow get like a sponsorship or something because he had that advertising was on point. I was like, I need a tap from that guy. But anyway, we'll keep it pushing that first round and really pretty close round, really close round. It was a kind of classic example where Matthews pretty much quote unquote won the first half of the round. And then Brady kind of finished out the round, the end of the round strong. So I ended up giving it 10-9 Brady, but
I did
Matthews
as
looked good in
well.
the first.
Yeah, I thought the first was definitely the closest round. Matthews dropped him early, and then Brady reversed the position and took top position, like you said.
Yeah.
About halfway through the round, and then maintained position and like looked good to end the round.
Well, Brady just looks so strong in there, bro. He has that like Vittori body, like
tenacious
those lats,
too. Like he was just always on attack.
He just has that wide back. Like, and this is coming from a guy who really doesn't have a wide back. I was always envious when I played football. Certain football players just have like a wide back, and you look so strong and just it's like functionally strong too. Those guys with the wide back, and I don't know. He's a thick 170.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like you can tell, like he isn't ever gonna make 55. And like he damn near could make probably 85.
Yeah, he's probably
You know
a
what I
couple
mean?
buffet trips away from being a middleweight. But yeah, man. What's up on the comments?
Aaron saying that boy Brady's thick.
Thick,
Yeah,
for sure, man. But yeah, round two, Brady really looked a lot better. Yeah, I gave it 10-9 Brady. He had the great ground and pound, really effective ground and pound, and then he started to attempt those guillotine attempts, which Brady's known for being able to pull off a one-arm guillotine, which is pretty rare and does show an exceptional squeeze. So, like the fact that he was chasing those guillotine, it wasn't like a normal random average Joe chasing a guillotine. Like those guillotines were threatening. And like I said, we kind of go back and forth on if you give somebody credit for like almost getting a submission, but these submissions were coming from the top position, which is a huge difference when weighing into that equation as opposed to throwing stuff up from the guard.
Yeah, absolutely. And like he must be really strong to be able to get one-arm guillotines because that's not easy to do. And I think in the first round he realized that he was like the stronger guy overall because he started to take control of the grappling exchanges for the most part. Past that point, I felt like against the cage, I was obviously getting takedowns, and obviously the way the fight comes to an end. I mean, he just realized he was just a stronger grappler, and I think put it to work.
Whenever the fight was out in the open and on the feet, Matthews didn't look half bad. But yeah, once Brady got that thick grip on him, you know what I'm saying? It was a wrap. Round three, Brady kind of broke him in round two, imposed his will in round two, and then in round three kind of came out and just got the finish. Was it an arm triangle that he ended up getting? Round three submission for Brady instead of just way stronger on the ground, dominant on the ground. Didn't look horrendous on the feet either. That's just kind of where that was more Matthews' wheelhouse, was at that kickboxing distance. But, he gets the win, extended it to 14-0. That's nothing to sneeze at. You see all the time these 7-0, 6-0, 5-0, 8-0 prospects, but you start getting to 14-0, man. That's nothing to sneeze at.
That's pretty serious. I mean, like that's Paulo Costa was like 15-0. Izzy was 20-0.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're climbing up there. He called for a top 15 opponent next, which is super, I think, within bounds. I think he performed, especially at welterweight, because welterweight's not like bantamweight. I feel like the bottom, like 10 to 15 in welterweight is totally like
it's a lot more thin.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
You start to get the thinner divisions once you hit 70, 85, 205, compared to 35 through 55.
100%. Yeah, man. So I think it's totally within bounds. I actually wrote down 13 through 15 welterweights as guys that would be potential good matchups for him that I honestly think he beats. Really, probably any of these guys. So 15 is Carlos Conde, old Conde at the end, kind of at the end of his career. He's looked all right lately, like pretty good fighting other old fighters and stuff, but I don't think he really wants to smoke with a young killer like Brady. But, I mean, that's who's at 15. You can pretty much copy and paste everything I just said. His 14th is Robbie Lawler. Great memories. Obviously had a fantastic career, kind of getting at the end of his rope, not that same guy. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they both kind of come out veteran the young fighter. And I just Brady looks like a savage, and I don't know. I don't think they want that smoke personally. Now it gets interesting at 13. You get Jeff Neal, and I think Jeff Neal coming off a loss. It's interesting though, right? They're kind of similar builds. Jeff Neal's a thick, strong guy. I don't know. I think I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Neal likes to wrestle as well. So. That could be a good. That could be. I'm more interested in the Neal matchup than I am the Lawler Condit matchup, just because, like I said, we've talked about it a lot. Like, we don't like coming in here on a Sunday after watching one of our favorite, old time fighters get, pieced up by a young lion. Just it's debatable if Lawler and Condit should still be fighting. So I don't know. I just tossing him a guy like Brady seems like a potential disaster.
Or that's the UFC's way of getting him out of the UFC.
Oh, I know, and that's probably what they'll do, and they love doing it. And it's I don't know. I try to not watch, legends get mangled. But like I said, and maybe I'm selling them short. Maybe they come out and use all that veteran knowledge and experience and all that. But goddamn it, he looked like a monster. But yeah, we can keep it pushing. Or I guess I didn't give you out of those three names. Are you leaning Jeff Neal as well, or you want to see him mangle an old man?
No, I want to see him fight Robbie Lawler.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, you savage.
Just...
Do you think Lawler? Do you think Lawler could beat him, or you just want to see him beat up Lawler?
Lawler's got an outside shot.
No, he does. He does. Right? Like, you can't just.
I'll say it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like he's like plus 380. Right?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, see, that's why I'm not trying to watch it. But we'll keep it pushing. We got a lot of fights to get to. This next fight was crazy, man. I really enjoyed this fight, man. We got Kennedy and Chekwu, I think is how I'm going to go with that. And then
in Zechiku.
Okay, I was not close. In Zekachu, okay, whatever. Pikachu, I choose you. Versus Carlos Holberg, who's the definition of what we were kind of just talking about. He's an undefeated prospect, but he's coming in at 5-0, making his debut. And I'm always wary of these 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 guys. Like, sometimes it works out and you get a Cyril Gant. Sometimes, that's not enough of a body of work to fully, like, I'm not even saying it's full enough to discredit him either. It's just kind of a lot's up in the air. They're so untested,
I will say Holberg was a glory kickboxing champion at 2 different weights before, and trains with Israel and those guys at City Kickboxing. So a lot of hype.
He's gotten some good work in for sure, and he looked like he has a lot of talent potential for sure. He came in as the minus 240 favorite too. So like I said, a lot of hype, a lot of big things were expected of him.
Dude, and honestly, he looked tremendous in the first round, but Nzechukwu's chin is insane. Like, he was just like putting up his guard and just like eating bombs like it wasn't shit.
Yeah, man. It looks like it, and I'm just gonna call him Kennedy. It looks like Kennedy just kind of looks like he came out slow. Just like me. I don't know if he's traditionally a slow starter or if he just kind of had a rough time kind of getting the juices flowing last night or what. But it looked in the first round like he was just kind of sleepwalking like zombie in there, eating a lot of shots, but like not like letting it. You never saw like panic on his face. Like, he would eat a stiff shot and just be like stoic,
Dude, his arms were so long. So
long.
It was crazy. Like you could tell Holberg would think that he would like be sliding out of the range, and then he would just get cracked with the fist on the end of it and be like, "What the fuck?"
Like, not even at the very tip either. Like, still have some
like
range
the whole
to
fist.
Go. Yeah, man. Kennedy and Zekachu, his arms were super long. Round one was a close, insane banger. Both guys 8 shots. Because, like, man, it's like Holberg would come with these crisp, precise, gorgeous combos, mixing in the kicks. And then just on the way out, exactly what we would describe would happen. He would think he would be he would get in and get out, but he wouldn't be out. He would think he was out and then catch just this, Stretch Armstrong, long ass punch. And it's crazy because, like, Holberg's punches, just if you watched him throw, looked like they would have so much on it. But then Kennedy would just eat it.
He would just tuck his chin and eat him off the side of his head. I don't know how he was doing it.
And then likewise, it looked like Kennedy was just throwing some kind of noodle, just kind of hitting the mitts, just not much on it. But then when it would make contact with Holberg, it would get this huge reaction out of Holberg. It was just like this weird kind of contrast in styles.
It was super weird.
Yeah, but it was fun weird, not bad weird. It was good weird.
Oh yeah, the length of Nzechukwu's arms were just like on pure display. Like it was like disturbing whenever he would like snap a jab, and just literally like he would be so far away, and his whole arm would be like past the guy's shoulder.
But did it not look to you like as long as he looked a tad slow? Like the hand speed wasn't
super
insane.
Slow.
It's almost
slow,
like
Holberg
would see the punch coming, literally like get back, but it wasn't backing up.
Right, because he's so long.
Yeah,
it was like
wild,
deceptive.
Man.
It was really that's what I meant by weird. And like you said, it was like entertaining, weird in a good way. So like, yeah, I agree with both those notes. Like,
having said all that, how'd you score one?
So one, I scored to Holberg 10-9.
Me too.
I mean, I just
sure.
thought
More
he
activity.
was, more active, landing a little more. But I could tell he's getting tired, dude. Like he looked gassed out by like 45 seconds to go at the end of round one, and I was like, "Ooh, this isn't good unless he gets a finish."
Yeah, 100%. He was definitely fading. He was essentially Kennedy and Nzechukwu. He just kind of let him punch him until he gassed himself out. And then in round two, Kennedy came out with the right hand of death and pretty much just shut the lights off, ended Holberg's night, said, "Welcome to the UFC, son."
What's crazy is Holberg landed a sick combination and dodged 2 of the 3 shots that Kennedy and Nzechukwu threw at the very end, and actually slid the right way again, like we're talking about, to dodge the second one and got out of range, and then dodged into the third one and just got put to sleep.
Yeah, man, and it's crazy because, like I said, there's not a lot of wind up. The shots come straight. He just has that natural power, man, that like he doesn't even look like he's throwing hard or throwing fast. It just kind of lands. And like I said, every time Kennedy landed, it just noticeably affected Holberg. Like I said, Holberg, and I haven't looked at the numbers. If I had to guess, Holberg probably had 2.5 times the amount of landed strikes.
It was a record for Nzechukwu was, I think, minus 52 strikes and won the fight. That's the largest strike differential ever in a 205 fight for the winner.
Yeah, man.
Like negative strike differential. I mean, oh.
Yeah. Oh no. And then so yeah, man. It was wild. It was wild. Like I said, Holberg. It was honestly a good debut for him because he didn't look like shit. Like he did a lot of things right, and I think what Holberg did last night beats a lot of guys, especially at the lower end of 205. But he just ran into the wrong fucking guy, man.
Yeah, honestly, man. Like, Nzechukwu's, I don't know what to think about him because, like, his skills aren't that great.
No, they're not.
His chin is just insane, and his attributes are wild.
Yeah,
so it's almost like
gifted.
It's almost like, yeah, I'll watch this motherfucker fight. Like he's just a freak. Essentially, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, man. It's like, would I bet on him again? It's
no, I can't put my money on him because his skills aren't there.
I'm never gonna touch an Nzechukwu fight betting wise. If I ever want to, slap me, because it's like you can't bet on him, but I sure as fuck don't want to bet against him either.
Yeah, he looks like a combine all-star. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those guys. Like his attributes are crazy, and on paper, like he looks like that's wild, you know what I mean? And then you see it perform, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
but it worked.
It worked. It worked. I think he'd have trouble with a monster grappler. But regardless of how we feel, both of these men got 50 G's. This was the fight of the night, and
Good. Good for these guys.
yeah, they put on a show. It was a banger. Holberg needs to also work on lowering his chin. I think that's why those shots were affecting him. So his chin was like literally like straight up in the air. So that's Holberg, he looked like a guy with 5 pro fights. You know what I'm saying? He's talented as fuck, but he has a lot of work to do on the defensive end for sure.
Not used to the MMA gaps and windows to hit in either yet. Needs
True
to get
that.
those a little more well defined. But yeah, we'll keep it pushing to the men's 125 division. We have number 12 Tim Elliott at -120 versus Jordan Espinoza at +100. This was a super interesting fight to me coming into it, man. I didn't know who to pick, honestly. This is one of the few fights where I was like very, very just 50-50 back and forth about.
Yeah, it's one of those fights where kind of like where the fight ended up was going to dictate it. And I think Tim Elliott knew that, and he made sure he controlled where it ended up. And I think that was a solid-ass game plan for him. It's kind of what everybody expected him to do. It's what he does. And he was able to do what he does. Also, I think Elliott was the 12th ranked flyweight coming into this. But yeah, round 1, I had a 10-9 Elliott. Not a lot of damage, but he had the grapple control. He kept the fight where he wanted the fight to be. You see it the same way?
Yeah, I absolutely did. I got the first round 10-9 to Tim Elliott. Just like pretty clearly one round, but not like super dominant and not like super 50-50. It was just like, it was like that's a Tim Elliott round.
Yeah, for sure, man. And then, round 2, much more dominant. I kind of teeter-tottered on a 10-8. Elliott had vicious ground and pound, and it's essentially the same as round 1, but just sprinkle in way more damage. You know what I mean? He started round 1. There wasn't enough damage for a 10-8. Round 2, there could have been. I don't know. I had 10-8 question mark. Did you give it 10-8?
I wrote it was questionably a 10-8 round. Did you? I did. So I did score at 10-8. Did you hear their dialogue at the end of the second round?
No, and I wanted to ask you about this because, like, it seemed like, and I know this is like whack to say, but like I got like kind of like racist vibes, but like I don't have any like evidence to support that. I don't know.
No, Tim Elliott asked him. When he had his arm across his neck, he said, "So I heard you're a woman beater, huh?" Like asking him that, and then. And then he said, one of your exes is like in my DMs telling me about how you used to hit her. And like, that's what he's like saying to him when he's on the ground. And then Espinosa's talking back and saying, yeah, well, she probably didn't give you the full story then, didn't she? And like, he's like having a conversation about it while he's like getting pressed. Yeah. And then that's what Mark Smith, that's when Mark Smith told him coming out of the second round, he was like, hey, like, you need to cut that because we got like cameras and shit up in here. We're picking up your audio.
So that's why I thought it was like racial of nature. Everybody was like, oh, like, I don't know. The way everybody reacted, I just got like racial vibes. But now actually hearing that's what it was, I'm actually okay with it.
Yeah, it was too, dude.
You know what I mean? It's like, people have said way worse stuff to each other in the octagon. B, they're literally fighting like, fuck it, let them get disrespectful. They're literally
yeah, right. Like, who gives a fuck? What are we talking about?
And, like, if it's true, like, yeah, I would probably feel good to beat up a guy that has beat up women. Also, we've known this before, us being athletes, like bulletin board material is real. And, like, if that's what he was using to motivate him, like, if every time training got hard, he's like, I got to kick this woman beater's ass. Or, maybe he grew up with a mom that maybe was domestically abused or a sister. Who knows? Maybe that's a subject close to home. And maybe that's just what was fueling him the whole time. So if that's literally what's fueling you, it's hard to not let that spill over. But I think it's inbound. Like I said, at first I thought it may have been something kind of racial. But the fact now I know what it is, I'm cool with it.
I mean, I'm totally cool with it. But it is a thing where it's like they're on ESPN too, so you can't really have that dialogue being picked up on ESPN too.
It wasn't on the pay-per-view yet. That also factors in. I bet if it's on the pay-per-view, they just let it.
Because I think Mark Smith didn't have a problem with it because he told Tim Elliott the thing coming out of the round, not going into the break, right? So like, So in other words, like the producers probably talked to Mark Smith in that minute in between the round and told him like, "Hey, tell Tim
we're on
Elliott,
cable.
yeah, right, like we're on network TV, like tell him cut that."
No, that makes sense. That makes sense, man. I'm honest. I see both sides there. Round three probably even more dominant than round two. And I was teetering on round 10-8 and round two, so I think round three is definitely a 10-8. Just more dominant ground and pound, more dominant grappling. Tim Elliott knew he had a marked advantage there, and he made sure that's where the fight took place. And I think hats off to him for that, because some fighters don't fight to their strengths, and that's all Tim Elliott did was fight to his strength and kept the fight where he wanted it. And I thought it was a dominant 10-8 third round.
Yeah, I agree. And I had the second 10-8, so of course I had the third 10-8. I had scored the fight 30-25. Sounds like you had it 30-26.
Yeah, easily could have been 30-25 as well. One judge scored at 30-25. One judge scored at 30-27. And what was the third judge's? I missed that.
30-26.
30. Oh, okay. So we had all the wide variety. Everybody's opinion was represented. I feel you. That's kind of how I felt this fight was. I have no problem with that. But yeah, Tim Elliott minus 120 favorite, holds on to his 12th ranked in the flyweight division. Kind of a one-dimensional guy, but
Yeah.
good at what he does, and that's good enough to win you a lot of fights and beat a lot of guys. Especially if your takedown defense isn't on point when you fight Tim Elliott, good fucking luck.
Yep, I agree with that. It's kind of like fighting Islam Makhachev or Askar Askarov, who are both on this card as well.
Great point. I'm looking forward to getting to them. And we're getting closer because we're officially entering the regular prelims now.
Right. And on this next fight, I was so confused about one thing. It's
Okay.
men's 125-pound division. It's Rogerio Bontorin at plus 115 versus Kai Kara France at minus 135. They both share the number 8 ranking.
I saw that. I guess they're tied for the ranking.
Hey, that's made by writers. Like, make up your mind, motherfuckers.
Yeah, and it's stupid too, because like I think I've seen it happen in other sports. I think I've seen it in college football before, where two teams are tied for 25 or something. But what's stupid is, so when you have two tied for 8, that means there's no 9. So one of y'all's essentially 9th if there's no 9.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if it goes 8-8-10. Hey, one of you guys is 9.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who. 8 and 9 aren't getting a shot at 1 because 1 is 8 and 1 is not. You know what I mean?
And this is where silly shit like this, and I know this is coming from a guy, lovingly calls himself Ranking McGee, but like this is where the ranking stuff gets a little goofy, and this is where the people that don't like rankings, it like gives credence to their argument. You know what I'm saying? It just starts to get a little funny, a little loosey-goosey, a little just ridiculous, quite frankly. But yeah, I noticed that too. As Rankings McGee, it obviously drove me nuts. So we have the number 8th ranked flyweight fighting the number 8th ranked flyweight.
Yeah, oddly enough. And the fact they're not even odds is even more disrespectful, because that just shows you Kara France should be number 8.
I feel you. I mean, that's pretty close odds, though. I mean, pretty close. But
yeah, but if that's the difference between 8 and 9, then like I think that's pretty clear, right? Like that's how they probably should have decided. That's how if there's a tie between rankings by writers, they should just go to Vegas odds.
I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. The tie is ridiculous. It doesn't help anybody. It's pointless. Especially when they're going to have the two guys fight each other. But yeah, anyway, round 1, fucking crazy fight, a.k.a. crazy round, because it ended in the first round. Bontorin had Kara France's back for like 3 minutes of the round, was well on his way to winning the round, quite possibly well on his way to a 10-8.
Might have been. I wrote the exact same thing. Was definitely winning the round and might have been on the verge of a 10-8. Exact same thing as what I wrote.
And then he finally gets him off his back, and like the clock is like counting down. They scramble, get to the feet, take it from here. Exactly what's the sequence that Kara France puts him down with?
I'm pretty sure it was just a right, left, right.
Okay.
He hit the right
just with
on
the hands.
on like behind the ear, got him dazed, kind of dropped the arms on Bontorin, and then hit him with a left that was like Either an uppercut or like
It's
a
an
straight
uppercut.
left.
It was. I want to say one of them was an uppercut for sure.
Yeah, I want to say the second one was an uppercut, and then that third right was the one that just put Bontarine down.
Yeah, there was 5 seconds left in the round that he was losing probably a 10-8. It was nuts. And then he did his super gangster. He gives him the little 2 or 3 piece, whatever it was, and then turns around and walks off like before the body even hits the floor. And before the refs can official. Like Kai Kara France essentially called the fight.
But once again, this is Herb Dean fucking up. It's a story of Herb Dean recently, right? Because what happens? Kara France runs off like he won the fight, turns around to look at Herb Dean, and Herb Dean's still standing there like looking back. And so Kara France comes to like finish him. Yes. And then Herb Dean calls it, and it's like, what is happening?
Yep.
It was all confusion, and that's because Herb Dean doesn't make a clear distinction of when the fight's over there. That's on Herb Dean.
Yeah. And it's crazy how he went from, what do they call it, go from the penthouse to the doghouse. Like he went from being like, I don't know what's got him off his game lately. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe just like eye fatigue. You do so many fights, they kind of, I don't know. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I 100% feel you. Kara France, though, he got a performance of the night bonus for that. Clearly proved you. I don't even know if you can say clearly proved. Like, do you think that was a situation? That's kind of the definition of getting caught, right? I mean, 5 seconds left in the round. Like, I don't know. After you dominate a guy, what was the flavor you were left with in your mouth when this fight was over? It's kind of hard to like interpret. Like, was it a fluke? Was it just a guy getting knocked the fuck out? Like, was it a dominant KO? Like, what was that? Like, what's the takeaway? Because he got dominated.
I feel like if they fight 10 times, they really probably go 5-5 or 4-6 on any given week. I think that's just, and it's all different ways. Like, I think these guys' skill sets are just like weirdly different in like matchup fashion. So like, I don't know, man. I think it was a little bit of luck, but I also think that like that's where he was way better than Rogerio Bontarine was like on his feet.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, those end of round knockouts. It's just so crazy. It's like, do you give Kara France credit for that, or is it like an asterisk? Is it I literally don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing winning a fight after getting dominated like 95% of their round. Like, obviously it's a good thing you got the win. Like, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like Bontarine could easily be like, dude, I was whooping your ass. You caught me. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. It'd be interesting. I probably wouldn't be shocking if these guys paths cross sometime in the future, considering how close in ranking they are.
Right. But that's what I wonder about is like, is Bontarine that much better of a grappler and Kara France is that much better of a striker to where like that just like happens 1 out of every 2 times, for instance. Let's say like the next fight Bontarine grapples him out and wins, but then the third fight Kara France knocks him out, and it's like, I mean, what do we even say about this trilogy? If that's what ends up happening. Like, I feel like these guys are like evenly matched because their skill sets and styles are so like different, but like willing to engage with each other.
All right. Now let me ask you this. Knowing that this is the last bonus of the night to be given out, do you think Kara France deserved his $50K?
No.
Me neither, bro. Me neither. I thought this was fucked up.
I definitely don't think so. I think there's a guy ahead of it that deserved it a lot more.
Oh, I think there's a woman ahead of it that deserved it a lot more.
Yeah, maybe. We'll talk about that. I know where we're going.
We'll talk. Yeah, for sure. Okay, but we're on the same page that it shouldn't have gone to the guy that was getting worked for 4 minutes and 95.
Right.
95 seconds.
With a surprise
definitely not 100
KO.
seconds in a minute. Yeah, I feel you. All right, so we're on the same page there. And consequently enough, this next fight plays exactly into this last fight because they're both flyweights, and I feel like we can kind of discuss the fallout simultaneously after we break down this Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov fight.
For sure. So yeah, 125, like you said. Askar Askarov is the -135 favorite. He's ranked number 3. He's against Joseph Benavidez, who's ranked number 2, plus 115. We talked about this a few weeks ago, actually, how we thought this was like the matchup they should run, just to like
Yeah.
pretty much try to get Benavidez out, because like having 2 losses in a row to Figueiredo, how do you say that those are bad losses? But then it's like, is he really past his prime? Well, we both agreed we thought he kind of was. So I mean, this fight went exactly how I thought it would go. I mean,
Yeah, we both felt good
exactly.
about this one. We both
Uh,
felt good about this one. Like I said, leading up to it, I said I didn't love any bets in this fight. But yeah, I definitely had to. I had Askarov all day in this fight for sure.
I loved Askarov by decision. I didn't think there was any way he was going to get a finish because his hands aren't that good, and his grappling is very good. But Benavidez is very good scrambling grappler, so I thought Askarov would like mainly win position and get the victory via decision. So
Yeah,
after saying that, I mean that's essentially how round 1 played out.
yeah, for sure. Askarov, it was pretty close round, and then at the end of the round, he got that takedown, started to grapple a little bit, and he was landing that front kick to the body that was hurting Benavidez. I definitely think Askarov 10-9 round 1. Also wanted to mention Askarov missed weight by 1 pound, which made me
Yeah,
nervous as somebody who thought, because usually, like when you see a guy miss weight by 4 pounds, you're like, all right, well, at least he's healthy in there, you know. But when you see a guy miss weight by 1 pound, that could honestly be worse because
he
that means
tried.
he sucked it all out and missed. So he could sometimes you see a fighter come in and not perform well when they miss weight by 1 pound. Kind of counterintuitive. You may think the guy that missed weight by more would fight worse, but typically you see those close ones because that means they sucked it all out of him and still missed. But
Dude,
and
you know,
also I didn't know that Askarov was partially deaf, like majority deaf. So shout out
90%
to him.
deaf.
Yeah, shout out to him just for overcoming that adversity. You know?
Let me ask you this. Do you think when you're cutting to like 125, let's say, if you miss by a pound, are you holding that against him moving forward?
Well, proportionately, a pound in 125 is more than a pound in any other weight class. So that's like the worst possible pound if you want to be like super technical and like ratio about it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm asking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel you. But do I hold it against him? Yes, because he missed weight. That's kind of a black and white yes or no, easy thing to answer. And I believe he's missed weight in the past. So now it's going to become a real issue because missing weight in a non-championship fight by 1 pound is missing championship weight by 2 pounds or maybe a pound and a half.
That's right. No,
And,
you're right.
and so, and especially a guy with a history of it and a guy that's ranked 3 and beats the ranked 2 guy, it like I said, if this was an unranked fight or you're 15 versus 12, I'm not as worried about it. But a guy who it's looking like is going to have to make championship weight really sooner rather than later, I mean, it's concerning, man.
Now yeah, I agree with that completely. But let me ask you this. Benavidez weighed in at 126, right? Askarov weighed in at 127. Do you think that there was like a big difference between the two of them, like as far as the weight cut they endured and like
Oh,
their
I mean,
physique in the cage? Like, do you think that was affected?
I,
Because
I
that's where
think
I
that
start to get like that's where it starts to get hazy for me. I'm sorry to cut you off just to explain my point. That's where it gets hazy for me is that like he obviously cut his ass off to try and get there and like suffered hard. So it's not like they went through like this extreme difference of suffering where like Askarov just took his foot off the gas. Like no, he tried to get there obviously. And then for Benavidez, like if I'm 125 or 126, let's say, and I have to fight a guy that's 127, that doesn't
oh,
make
and
a
you get
big
paid
difference.
more? Oh, no.
Right. And I get part of his
Competitively, no.
purse. Right, like if I'm
Competitively,
Benavidez,
no.
that's the best miss possible. That's kind of where I'm getting at here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Fair enough. And then round 2, man, how'd you see it, brother?
So round 2, I thought Askarov actually started to get his hands going a little bit. Started landing
Oh,
some
yeah.
bigger shots and just earned another round, banked another round. I scored it 10-9, Askarov.
Really? See, I think he did more than just bank it. I gave him a 10-8. Maybe I was
Oh,
feeling
you
jaded.
10-8 of that round,
I
huh?
thought he just smashed him. I thought it was classic smash, just domination, ground and pound. always keeping top pressure, just classic smash, just dominance. I gave it a 10-8. I mean, and how he ended the round with that exclamation point of a right hand, just like,
Yeah, that's true.
right.
I could definitely see the 10-8.
Yeah, it wasn't the most dominant 10-8 in the history of 10-8s, but and he also started to like cause some damage to that under the left eye of Benavidez. Probably helped me get a 10-8 too. What's going on in the comment section?
He said Danny gonna cut you out over that Amanda Nunes clip.
Yeah, right. We're on the most wanted list now, but yeah, man. And then round three, man. Round three, I thought that Askarov kind of took his foot off the gas, aka, or maybe his gas tank was running out due to the weight cut. But still did enough. I thought Askarov did enough in three to get the 10-9. And he kept catching Joe. Joe knew he needed to finish, and Askarov knew that Joe needed to finish. So Joe kept rushing him, and Askarov kept catching him, rushing him.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. So you scored the third 10-9 Askarov, I assume, as well?
Yeah. Yep.
So you had it 30-26. I had it 30-27. Two of the judges had it 30-27, and one judge had 30-26. So,
yeah.
I mean, we're pretty much right on par. I'm not mad at the second being a 10-8, obviously. And looking back at it, probably lean closer to a 10-8 than I did in live time, too. Like, thinking about like the dominance in which Askarov like handled him compared to like the other two rounds, and knowing how good Joseph Benavidez is in scramble positions, things like that.
Yeah, I was impressed with his ability to keep him down. A guy like
to control him was impressive.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so Askarov, wins as the -135 favorite. And so this is what I wanted to talk about. We can kind of break down the fallout of the Bontarine Cara France fight and the Askarov Benavidez fight kind of all in one, or maybe not. So Askarov was 3. He beat 2. Obviously, Moreno's 1, and Figueiredo's the champ, and they're already scheduled for a rematch. So do you think Askarov just automatically gets winner of the rematch of Moreno-Figueiredo?
It's not automatic, because if Figueiredo wins, then Askarov gets Figueiredo. If Moreno wins, Moreno probably has to rematch Figueiredo.
For the trilogy. Okay, that's fair. So, and I guess enter stage left Kai Cara France, just to kind of, like, could you see an Askarov versus Cara France matchup, since they both fought in the same card? Askarov versus Cara France, just kind of until that whole Moreno-Figueiredo situation works itself out. Because if you got to think, best case scenario, even if Figueiredo wins and he's going to fight for the belt, that's going to be, 9 months away, or maybe longer? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Depending on how much of a war it is.
Man, honestly, I'd rather see like Askarov and Alex Perez, or
okay,
or Askarov and oh man, I'm blanking on the name, but he fought Moreno recently. I'll get it. But
I know who you're talking. Royval.
Right? Yes, Royval. I would like
Those
to see Askarov Royval too. But like Cara France and Benavidez would be a fun fight too.
Good point. I'd be down for that. Yeah, that would be some crazy. Yeah, I like how that fight looks in my head when I
right. Yeah, like I think that matchup is fun more than anything.
Okay, fair enough, for sure. But yeah, Askarov. Needless to say, Askarov has put himself in the definitive number 1 contender spot. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, outside of Brandon
Moreno. Yeah, but that's already booked, and that's like.
But this is super interesting, because check this out. Let's say Moreno wins. They're going to give Figueiredo probably a rematch. Probably. Right? You think so?
Most likely.
I would think so.
Yeah. I mean,
and so then let's say Figueiredo wins. Well, then they're at a draw and a 1-1 split. You got to do a 4th match.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like the UFC typically doesn't like to draw it out that much. I feel like that's just a lot of I feel like it's kind of a we'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it type of deal. You know, you can't plan for a fourth fight.
The other way to go about it too, though, is for like Moreno, if he wins his next one and they're like, let's rematch Figueiredo, he could say, well, I fought him to a draw and then I beat him. Like, I haven't lost to him, so I'm not going to fight him again.
And it's crazy. I just thought of this. Like how the future of Holloway Volkanovski plays out may set a precedence for these questions that we're asking. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Aaron was saying it depends on who wins, Davison or Moreno, as far as like what happens to Askarov, which I agree with.
For sure. And anything else we need to address?
Oh no, you're good.
All right, and then we'll keep it pushing. We got 23-year-old Song Yadong, minus 170 favorite, 14th ranked bantamweight, taking on Kyler Phillips, plus 145 underdog, fighting in the bantamweight division. And man, this fight was a lot of fun. This fight was badass.
Yeah, super fun fight. Kyler Phillips is a super fun fighter to watch, and Song Yadong, dude, he reminds me so much like Korean Zombie and like pretty much all the Korean and like Chinese fighters, in the sense that like they're just vicious striking machines. They're always very stoic, not very like emotional in the octagon. There seem to be certain like traits that seem to be like just carry over. Like maybe it's culturally, maybe it's just how the coaching is over there. I don't know. But I agree. He has those kind of classic traits, and it's crazy that he's 23 years old. Definitely fighting some, high level competition. Definitely getting more than just his feet wet. But just once again, we beat this dead horse. But it's too hard to ignore. It's the elephant in the room. How deep is the bantamweight division? Crazy, man.
Versus unranked, and just super talented, super tough, super scary guys, both in their own right. Song Yadong has that chin, that famous kind of Korean zombie style chin, and just can take a pounding and throws with just meat intention. Almost everything he throws is just kind of with fight ending intention. And then you got Phillips, just super athletic, super technical, throwing crazy spinning techniques and stuff. It was just a fun fight. It was fireworks.
So how'd you score the first round?
I had it 10-9 Phillips. Phillips got the takedown. He was doing kicks to the head, kicks to the body, spinning kicks. But I got to say, towards the end of the round, Yadong just was kind of starting to sway momentum a little bit towards the end. I just don't think he did enough to steal the round. It was like an almost steal the round type of situation, but he looked better towards the end of the round. Yeah,
so I thought they were trading like really, really big strikes, honestly, for it to be the first round and for to be like a pretty high stakes fight for Kyler Phillips. Like he was pretty loose, pretty down to like trade big shots.
Oh yeah.
Song Yadong always down to trade. I expected that from him. I was surprised by Phillips. And Phillips's movement was super good too, man. Like his footwork and his movement was so nice,
so good, and
he got a takedown there in the round as well. So I had him winning the round 10-9.
100%. Yeah, Phillips' footwork looked that much better when you like contrasted it against Yadong's just march you down slow, zombie-like approach of just kind of coming forward slowly and steadily. I don't think Yadong took one lateral step the whole night. That's probably an exaggeration, but it was just straightforward all night.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that worked to Kyler Phillips's benefit because he started to figure it out, Started to really – I thought the second round, he started to actually win the exchanges and started to essentially download the pattern and open up and, got a nice takedown again in the second round. I just thought he was way better in the striking exchanges in the second round.
Yeah, he started to find the range with the jab too, which was super helpful, especially with this style he was using of kind of keeping the distance. It was almost like, so here's Yadong marching in a straight line, and then Phillips was just moving around and pumping that jab. And it's just like it was really nice to watch. It was like I said, Phillips' footwork was a huge advantage in this fight. And then I saw round 2, 10-9 Phillips. He got the takedown, find the range with the jab. But as with the first round, Yadong had his moments, and he was landing some stiff shots and trading.
That's the thing is they were both still trading a whole lot. It was just that Kyler Phillips was making it look prettier and was having more moments of control, I think, too.
Yeah, for sure. And then round 3, man, I thought it was Yadong's best round of the fight. I actually scored it 10-9 Yadong. He had more significant strikes, and he finished the round like a guy who was, needed to finish the round strong. He was going for it. He left it all in the octagon. Do you think he did enough in 3 to win round 3?
I also scored it to Song Yadong. I had it really even until Yadong got the reversal, got on top, rode out the end, and was honestly like doing a lot of damage on top.
Yeah. He looked great in round 3, which just proves how goddamn tough he is. Because it said he lost the first 2 rounds, and then to have your best round in round 3 when you need your best round, and impressive. Like I said, you never, there's no such thing as moral victories, but he did his thing. He fought his style. I think he'll be
no doubt.
23 years old. I think he'll be fine moving forward. And all three judges saw it the exact same way we did. 29-28 times 3 unanimous decision to Kyler Phillips, who cashes as a plus 145 underdog.
Yeah, and shout out to Kyler Phillips, man. He's fun to watch. I look forward to whoever his next opponent is. 135, all killers, so I'm sure he's going to get someone very sick ahead of 14.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And, we keep saying how young Song Yadong is at 23. I'm pretty sure Phillips is 25, so still super young as well. It's a bantamweight full of young killers. Oh, my God, it's ridiculous. It's almost like, which they don't need to really do this, but I wish for bantamweight they would have a quasi 25 long ranking list, because it's just that deep of a division. That would be an absolute nightmare if they really did it, but it would just be some website needs to do it just for fun, because it was I don't know, it's such a deep division, and give that dead horse another whack.
Well, it's honestly a perfect transition to the featured or the main event of the prelims, which is Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. Obviously 135. Number 11, Dominic Cruz, plus 115 underdog actually versus Casey Kenny, the minus 135 favorite coming into this fight. So we got a lot to discuss in this fight, because the refs, the judges ended up disagreeing, and I disagree with some of the judges as well. 2 of them actually. Yeah, for sure. It was a lot going on, kind of difficult to judge. Which I feel like is a trend with Dominic Cruz fights. I'm so glad you said that, because that's the first notes I have written down is when Dominic Cruz fights, man, it's so hard to score his rounds, because his movement's so weird, and the strikes he lands are from such odd angles that it's almost hard to even see if they land super clean, but they really do a lot of the time, and he's a weird dude. He's just a weird dude.
He's not a super powerful guy, so even when he lands, especially against a guy like Casey Kenny, it doesn't look that impactful, even if it may be. It just the eye test. It's not like it's wobbling him or snapping his head back or things that, you know what I mean? Just those little visual markers that you look for to see damage and effectiveness, it just kind of doesn't necessarily shine through the television screen, or apparently in person either.
Casey Kenny was having trouble as well, man. He was struggling to get Cruz's movement pattern downloaded at the start of the fight, which I don't blame him. It's a tough movement pattern to get down. Yeah. It's a wild way to fight.
I gotta say,
I scored the first 10-9 to Cruz, honestly.
Yeah, I gotta say, I kind of liked Cruz as an underdog. I was wishy-washy.
Oh yeah, you texted me that, and the
Yeah.
longer the week went on, the more I liked it. That was a good call by you.
Yeah, just the level. If it was anybody else, I would have gone Kenny. But the guy who like literally campaigns on ring rust isn't real. I was like, I kind of want to bet on that. Like, but anyway, yeah, round 9. You said you saw it 10-9 Cruz.
I did, yeah.
Okay, yeah, me too. He had a little more activity. Those head kicks were getting through a little bit. And
one of them got through real nice.
And then also, like, there was this definitive moment where Cruz's footwork literally had Kenny like swinging at air, like straight
Oh, where he went
matador.
left and Cruz was already out of the way.
Straight Olay status, straight matador. It was gorgeous. Like I know that's not
Beautiful.
really typically something that wins somebody around, but when I look back on the first round, that's one of the moments that stood out, and it was a positive moment for Cruz. So, yeah, 10-9 Cruz, I'm right there with you.
So in the second round, I thought it was a super close round. Like, I thought it was like 50-50 coin flip.
Yes.
I actually ended up leaning toward Kenny. I thought he started I thought he started catching Dominic Cruz on some of the in and outs and did a little more damage than Cruz actually did. So I actually leaned to Kenny that round, surprisingly. So I had it 19-19 after 2.
Man, that was a very close round. I actually leaned 10-9 Cruz. I got to say, though, like I said, it was razor thin, coin flip. I'm not mad. I could see it either way. Not dying on this hill. I thought the most effective thing Kenny did in round 2 was his leg kicks, especially when the movement was giving him so much trouble in round 1. I thought that was a brilliant like fight IQ game plan moment, whether it's his idea or his coach's idea, whoever it was, shout out. But whenever a guy's just dancing all around you, work on them legs, and he's doing so really effectively with those leg kicks in round 2. Also, Kenny's takedown defense in round 2 was outstanding. This is why I leaned Cruz, though. It was a super hard round to score, but this is why. I thought the best thing Kenny did the whole round, essentially, besides the leg kicks, was his takedown defense. But it's hard to give a guy a round whenever he's, like, defending takedowns most of the round. Like, even though, like, they were not good shots and they didn't really work, but most of that round was spent of Cruz trying to get a takedown and Kenny not allowing him to get a takedown. But Kenny also wasn't really able to do much himself besides throw those leg kicks. So, tough round to score. I lean 10-9 Cruz.
Right, yeah. And essentially, the way I looked at it was the exact same as you. I just put the takedown offense versus defense in 50-50 and just said that Kenny's leg kicks essentially like leaned the round for me. So
not mad at that.
That was pretty much the way I had that. But the third round was once again super 50-50 until I thought the end of it, in which Dominic Cruz got a takedown and kind of secured the round.
100%.
At least the way that's how I leaned for it. I also wrote great fight in all caps. I thought it was a tremendous fight.
Great fight. Yeah, man, I had it 10-9 Cruz. I actually didn't think round 3 was that close. It was close until it wasn't, as far as like having to score it. Like round 2 was obviously way harder to score. Round 3, because Cruz actually had 2 takedowns in that third round, which, you know, in a fight this close, you know, that matters, especially whenever he was struggling to get those takedowns earlier in the fight. And I thought Cruz was the much fresher man, which is probably why he got those takedowns, but probably cardio takedowns more than they were like takedowns. Both men were landing. Both men had their moments in round 3. But then there's this body language moment where in round 3, Casey Kenny was like stumbling around, and I thought it just like looked absolutely horrible. Like body language factors in on judging, and it's like I thought at that moment when I saw Kenny like stumbling around, I was like, oh yeah, this is 10-9 Cruz all day. But like I said, let's talk about this scoring and how I had it and how you had it.
So I had it 29-28 for Cruz. You had it 30-27 for Cruz. Yes. Which one judge agreed with me, one judge agreed with you. The third judge had it 29-28 for Kenny. But like we talked about, that's very. I mean, we could see that, right?
I can see round 2. I have a hard time saying round 1 or round 3 going to Kenny though.
Yeah, no way around 3. No way around 3.
No way around 3, so it had to be 1. And I just think that, like I said, Cruz had all those moments. Cruz had that head kick. He had Kenny whiffing and stumbling around. What did Kenny do to win round 1? Like, I mean, he landed some shots. They were trading, but, I mean, I don't know. I just thought Cruz looked way better. Yeah,
you know what? The more I think about it, that is the one judge I was talking about whenever I said I had a problem with their scoring. Now, I also kind of thought 30-27 was, but I mean, and like I said, I can see the 30-27, but I was just like, it didn't feel like 30-27 represented how close the fight was, is I guess like what I'm trying to say. But like I can see how you get there by scoring the rounds.
Yeah,
right? We talk about that all the time, how like
yeah,
the round by round thing doesn't tell the story of the actual fight as a whole.
yeah, 100%. Oh, I agree with all that statement. But yeah, I think the right man won. It ended up being a split decision. Interesting. So Cruz, he probably hangs on to that 11 ranking, cashes as a plus 115 underdog. Um, and then the post fight shit with Cruz and apparently some executive at Monster. What did you see any of that? Did you fast forward that? Do you know
No,
what I'm talking about?
I didn't want to. So funny, dude. I didn't want to listen to Dominic Cruz talk. I literally purposely fast forwarded it. What was he talking about?
It was wackier than you could have even imagined, bro. Like for real, I wish I didn't. So talking to Joe Rogan afterwards, right? There's a lot to talk about, right? Are you going to retire? Are you making another run at the top of the heap? Like what's going on here, Dominic Cruz? A lot of long-time hardcore MMA fans chomping at the bit to hear what he says, right? He uses the moment. I shit you not. I don't even know this guy's name. He has, I think this guy's name's Hans something or other. He's an executive at Monster Energy Drink, or like the guy who's in charge of handing out Monster sponsorships or some shit. He's like an executive guy. He works for Monster. He's like not a fighter. He's just a guy that works for Monster. Dominic Cruz calls him out. He's like, let's do a charity fight. You've been I don't even know what exactly his beef is, but he's like, you've been doing business the wrong way, taking advantage of fighters. I don't know, some shit. And and he challenged him to a fight. He's like, let's fight for charity. You pick the charity. You outweigh me by 100 pounds. I want to fight Hans such and such from Monster. And it was just a bizarre world. And Joe was just like, what? Like, he was like, and then he kind of tried to pivot. It was like, oh, how did you feel about the third round? Or like, he tried to shift it hard left. Like, let's get off of this subject. It was bizarre. It was anticlimactic. And then Dana comes on afterwards, and Dana's like, the dude he's talking about, he's like, he may not be everybody's cup of tea, but he was like, the first time I ever talked to him on the phone, the guy at Monster, this Hans guy, he's like, the first conversation I ever had with Hans, we agreed on a number, right? It was the first ever sponsorship deal between Monster and the UFC. And the guy,
when
Hans,
they bought out the rights to the energy drink sponsorship.
Hans, it was the guy, apparently this is according to Dana, Hans's idea was like, no, I want to pay each fighter an additional 25 grand on top of the number that we just agreed upon. So Dana was just like, what? Like, this guy, like, to my knowledge, has gone out of his way to pay UFC fighters, actually like negotiated against himself to pay UFC fighters more. And Dana was like just as frustrated with it as essentially everybody else was. And it just seems like absolute nonsense. Like, he was dodging all questions about retirement, said he liked doing broadcasting, said he wanted to do this fight against this Hans guy for charity. It was just like,
what is wrong with Dom Cruz? What?
Like, I don't like Dom Cruz, and like, I thought there wasn't really much that can make me like him less. Actually, after watching him win, I was like starting to be like, oh, like, am I happy for this guy? And then he comes out and just shits on, like, no, this is why I'm not a fan. But like,
he's as cringe as Henry Cejudo. It's crazy.
It was cringe. It was cringe. And he was just like, yeah, you have 100 pounds on me, bro. You have 100 pounds on me, bro. Like, what does that mean? If he's not a fighter, I mean, most non-fighters don't walk around weighing 130 pounds.
What does that mean?
Like, it was just weird. Like, I thought it was really weird. And then I thought it was weird and whack before I heard Dana's like comment. And then Dana tells this story about, like, the first conversation I ever had with the man, he wanted 25,000 extra per UFC fighter. Like, and like, he's like, to my knowledge, he's always like hooked up like UFC fighters and been like an advocate for UFC fighters and helped their pay increase and all this shit. And then Dominic Cruz was like, yeah, you take advantage of fighters. And it was like some weird shit. It was just weird. It was so cringe. It was like, probably YouTube that shit and just watch or don't.
Yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I'm going to for sure.
Bizarre, man.
I wonder if he showed up to the post-fight press conference and explained that.
Well, Dana was talking about it in the post-fight press conference, and then Dominic Cruz, to my knowledge, talked a little more about it and was just kind of reiterating the same stuff. Like, yeah,
double down.
I want to fight him, like, for charity, and he has 100 pounds on me. Like, just the same kind of generic talking points. But just bizarre, absolutely bizarre, just not helpful to like anybody who gives a shit about the sport of MMA. It's just like we all wanted to like, yeah, are you gonna call out a top 5 guy? Like, are you gonna play some? You're gonna stay in this gatekeeper role, fighting on prelims? Are you fighting just for fun? Like everybody had all these like very relevant questions, especially in this jam-packed bantamweight division. Like if you don't want to fight bantamweights, there's like literally 15 guys that will take your 11th ranking if you don't want it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
so many,
yeah,
so
many, bro. Like, yeah, I don't know. Just left me with the worst taste in my mouth. There's just, like, especially after watching all these badass fights, and I was having a really good time, and we're getting ready for this main card. It just fucking popped my little bubble, took the steam out of my cells, and just was like, oh, like this is wow, this is like the energy we ended up on this dope night. Like what?
I'm so happy I fast forwarded through that. That would have like ruined the energy moving forward because like
It did, bro. It's main card time, and there was 3 title fights last night, and then even the other fights that weren't title fights had major, implications on the future of their respective divisions, and some weird stuff to talk about, some fun stuff to talk about, and plenty of fight stuff to talk about. So let's dive into this main card, brother.
Yeah. So the first fight we have in the light heavyweight division, Thiago Santos, the number 2 ranked light heavyweight at plus 145 versus Alexander Rakic at minus 175. I don't know if I said number 4 just now, but number 4 ranked guy. So surprising to me that he was this big of a favorite, honestly. I think a lot of it had to do with Santos having torn both of his ACLs in the John Jones fight. Oh, and he also had a cracked tibia in his shin.
Oh, yeah, he completely destroyed. It's like he completely destroyed one leg, and then even on the other leg was still like a partially torn ACL. So, I mean, yeah, his lower body's very compromised, to say the least.
Right. Now, with all that said and all that in mind, I thought it was a close first round, man. I thought Rakic edged it out with some nice body kicks, some good striking defense. It wasn't really a high-activity round from either guy, per se. But, yeah, I thought Rakic edged it out, in my opinion.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say also, I didn't realize Santos was 37 years old. He's older
than
kind of
old.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, I mean, you can still like I didn't realize Jan Blachowicz is 38, so it's like it's crazy how different guys age and hit their primes at different times or whatever. But Santos seems to be a rough 37, with those knee surgeries and stuff. And then, so I actually lean Santos in round 1. Even having said that, like Cormier said, he leaned Rakic. A lot of people leaned Rakic. It was not a lot of activity. I thought that Santos was leading the dance. Like, I thought Santos was going first a lot. I could easily see the argument that Rakic is maybe countering harder, but I just kind of respect it. Now, there was barely any action, but I feel like what little action there was initiated by Santos. I feel like he was kind of, in a tad bit of more control in the first round, but they said there wasn't a whole lot going on. I'm not mad at, I'm not dying on any hills, very close round.
Yeah, so, and I'm right there with you, like I was saying. I think that and I even wrote that it was a really close first round, that essentially Thiago Santos pushed the pace in, and Rakic had showed nice striking defense and good body kicks to, I think, steal the round out 10-9. So that was what I pretty much wrote. And that's how I pretty much saw the first round. Now, the second round, I thought Rakic took a little more control of that round due to the fact that he was able to time out Thiago Santos's engages a little better. How'd you see the second round going in?
Same thing. I mean, it was a snoozer. I mean, this whole fight was super disappointing.
Yeah, this fight was very disappointing. I'm glad you said it because I was going to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll full on go even whack. Like, it was whack. It was a snoozer. Not a ton of activity. I had Rakic 10-9 in the second just because, I don't know. I mean, neither guy gave us a lot. I thought Rakic landed cleaner, maybe a few more times. I mean, it was like I said, snoozer of a round. It's like, I don't know. I guess the classic thing both guys could say is like, oh, I'm respecting the other guy's power, but it's like, okay, well, there wasn't a lot of one way to mitigate power is to get in close in the clinch or push the guy up against the fence, or you know what I'm saying? I just feel like
Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of ways
like,
to do it. Chop
yeah,
the lead
like,
leg so they have to switch stances or have to use their offhand. Like, there's
not a
plenty of
whole lot
ways.
going on, man. So yeah, I gave Rakic 10-9. I had it 1-1 going into the third round, and then literally my notes for round 3 say Rakic ? 10-9, snooze, close. Like, this fight was close for all the wrong reasons. Like you know what I mean? It was essentially the opposite of the Cruz Kenny fight, because even in the Cruz Kenny fight, at least there was a lot going on. It was really hard to score and kind of weird and wonky, but at least there was plenty of activity. Like, this fight, not a lot happened.
And it was hard to score for the exact same reason that nothing was happening, really. I scored the third to Santos. So if you think about this, you scored the first to Santos, I scored the third to Santos. There was a path in which you could have seen a judge scoring this 29-28 Santos.
Yeah.
Easily.
Easily.
Now getting to that point, Rakic wins unanimous decision, 2 judges 29-28, 1 judge 30-27. We both have it 29-28 Rakic, but in different fashions, which is cool to note.
Yeah, for sure. Cool to note, but also like not cool to note, because the rounds are, like I said, the rounds were hard to score, like, because nothing was happening. Like, how do you score nothing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. How do you score? How is inactivity scored? Like, is it just activity that's going to win the round, essentially? Like, not even damage? Because damage is that's not even a guarantee if I can't get activity.
Like, I think either guy could go to a photo shoot after this fight. I don't even know, like, if either guy.
Oh yeah, they both were fine.
Each guy ate a couple leg kicks, maybe a couple of body kicks, maybe a jab or two. Like, there was just nothing happening. I was so disappointed. I got heavy Conde Rosenstruik vibes. And I want to make the Conde Rosenstruik comparison on 2 levels. Obviously, first and foremost, the obvious layer is the inactivity of the fight. But what also strikes me about it is, like, the fallout from it is also boring, because just like in Conde Rosenstruik, that was essentially supposed to be a kind of a number 1 contenders fight, or at least like a you're in the conversation fight, like you're now in the Grand Prix. Like, that was the puncher ticket to the Grand Prix, the Conde Rosenstruik fight. And this was kind of the same thing. So we had 4 versus 2, right, with the light heavyweight belt on the line the same night. So, and I mean, Dominic Reyes might have something to say about it, but besides that, you know, it's a number 1 contender fight, 2 versus 4 with the belt on the line in the same night. It was kind of all lined up to where, and let's be real, I think the UFC would have, it was set up for Rakic, who was a -175 favorite, to kind of get a great win over a big name like Santos and really kind of launch himself into number 1 contender status. I mean, right? That's kind of how, if the UFC.
That was the idea. That was the idea.
And Rakic, so Rakic gets the win. There's 2 29-28 cards for him and 1 30-27, but it's like, I'm not even mad at the 30-27, because they said, how do you score nothing? And but like I said, it kind of reminds me, like, Conde got the win, but is anybody just like can't wait for Gane's next fight? Like,
the stock didn't go up on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, he beat Anthony Smith, who looked like kind of washed when they fought, and then he beat Thiago Santos with no activity and no some of the hardest rounds to score and like a boring fight. Like yeah, he's winning these fights, but like, damn, man, that isn't the way to do it.
No, like I think Glover.
Obviously, Glover's number 1. He's the next shot. Reyes is number 3.
Yep. But I think both of those guys starts Rakic.
I mean, I bet Reyes Rakic is the fight on the horizon.
You think?
Well, no, Reyes is matched up with, isn't it Reyes Prohaska?
Oh, that's right. That is.
Isn't that the fight?
I think that's happening like relatively soon, like March or April. So that we'll have an answer to that. Yeah,
dude.
the light heavyweight division is kind of churning along. I feel like it was.
I would love to see Prohaska win that fight and fight Rakic for the number 1 contender spot. That would be a sick fight.
That makes a lot of sense. And then they can line up. We'll get to it, but the champ versus Glover probably next. But yeah, man. So like I said, that fight, like, on paper going into this Rakic Santos fight on paper But you know what, bro? I'll be real, and I'm not trying to be hindsight 2020. Everybody was like all week, all the podcasts and all the shows and pregame. Everybody was trying to tell me to be excited for the Santos Rockets fight. Something in my gut kind of just told me, I was like, I don't know about this fight. Like Santos hasn't given us a ton of like super exciting fights lately. Like I don't know. I don't know.
I'm with you on that, man.
I had my
I'm with you on that.
reservations. Like everybody was telling me to be excited about it. It's like you shouldn't have to tell me to be excited about a fight. Like an exciting fight, when you see the exciting fighters scheduled for an exciting fight, the excitement takes care of itself. I don't need like a conduit of like somebody telling me what to be excited about. Like if it's
right. Yeah, I agree. Like it shouldn't be marketed as an exciting fight. Like it should jump off the paper as exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
Because otherwise it's not really exciting.
And that fight was not exciting. But we'll keep it pushing here. We'll keep it pushing here because this next fight was much better, and the fallout conversation is much more entertaining as well. So we have Islam Makhachev, minus 455 favorite, probably the best ranked number 14 fighter in the world. And,
yeah, honestly, like, yeah, for like how the fuck? I mean, I get it because inactivity is 14, but like, fuck, like he is way better than any other guy. Like Song Yadong is 14 and 135. It ain't close to the skill level difference.
Man, that was such a good apples to apples comparison, man. That was fire. Yeah, no, I 100%. That's a clear illustration of how good Makhachev is to be ranked 14, and how that also, like I said, the people that are against rankings will point to this as like a reason why rankings are kind of nonsense. But and then fighting Drew Dober plus 340. You know, tough fighter, but you know, plus 340, and yeah, fighting in the stacked lightweight division, you know, quickly becoming a lot of people's favorite division. And it's, there's so many big names and legendary fighters in this division. And then, So
I mean, real fast before you get into it, you said legendary fighters. Khabib is his cousin.
Yes.
And, like, also, like, best friend. Like, they grew up together. Apparently, Khabib's dad treated Islam like a son, like, took him to tournaments with him, like, competed, like had him compete in tournaments like he was like a part of their family and shit. So, and apparently, I don't know if this is true. It looked like it might have been true from the fight. Islam can win grappling matches with Khabib and like grappling exchanges, and he is the current world and European Sambo champion. So
yeah, I mean he has everybody's stamp of approval, right? DC, Khabib have both fully stuck their necks out for him and fully given him the cosign, and kind of he's a made guy, right? He's been
all the AKA guys talk about how he is like the king of the gym now. Yeah, I don't know if that's true because he's like 2 or 3 years younger than Khabib, but like if that's true, man, shit,
for real.
That's scary.
And he didn't disappoint. That's another cool thing about this is like, you know, being a minus 455 favorite comes with a ton of pressure and like, you know, to a lot of fighters and like living up to that. And it's like, even if you win, like if you win a decision when you're a minus 455, that's like not a good look, you know? So a lot of pressure, but yeah, man, let's dive into it. How'd you see that first round?
Oh, I can't wait to dive into this for the implications after. So first round, dude, great takedown by Makhachev 1 minute in, like literally at the minute mark, gets just a saucy takedown, maintains top position. And, dude, his transitions, his control on top, like, holy shit, dude. Like, he's in control on top. Like, he's mission control on top.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he had the takedown, the top control, and then at the end of the round, he even threw that armbar attempt. So it was cool.
And dude, and it was deep. Like Dober was in a lot of trouble.
And I just really appreciate it. Like, is this the next kind of, you know how like things evolve, right? Like everything evolves, and it's like, was Khabib the first generation and established that like top control, but then like a lot of times this Dagestani style, this top pressure style, it's kind of not a ton of activity.
It's boring round winning. You dominate rounds, but you don't have like these high caliber moments of damage or threat.
And he looks like, though, he's kind of evolved into the more dangerous version of that style because
Exactly.
so now you're throwing arm bars from this top position. And I'm not saying nobody else has ever done that, but I'm just saying mixing in those additional threats, just a little razzle dazzle to it. You know what I'm saying? Like just that next iteration of that Dagestani style is what it looks like to me. Yeah. And so, yeah, I thought that arm bar, well, arm bars, pretty simple. It's not life changing, but from that, you mix in arm bars now. You're just adding in wrinkles to that offense and into that strategy, which is just a daunting kind of thing to think about, And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, man, and I I honestly wrote it was potentially a 10-8 after round one because he dominated pretty much top control for 3-something minutes, and then also threw in an armbar that was damn close. And obviously. Credit to Dober, he did escape it with 6 seconds to go and actually get top position for the last 4 or 5 seconds. But it was close to a 10-8 for me, man.
For sure,
I could have seen it. We didn't get to the scorecards, and we'll get to that. But yeah, I thought it was close. Now in the second round, I thought that was way closer to a 10-8. I thought Islam was just grappling his ass off, dominating the fuck out of Drew Dober, giving him no options of where to move and what to do.
100%. Well, yeah, I'll go. There's no question mark for me. I mean, round two was a 10-8 if I ever seen one. Round two, 10-8 from Makhachev. Just that classic grinding smash style. What separated round one and round two to me was the ground and pound and more smash. For real, all jokes aside, there was more damage, more violence in round two. Round one was definitely more about position, and then you got that armbar attempt. But round two, he really started to let the hands go from the top position, and that's what I'm saying. Just a more active version of that classic smash that we've all known to. I would say love, but probably fear is a better word.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Great point. Yeah, man. So, I mean, for me going into round three, I already had it 20-16. I guess pretty much wasn't a winnable fight for Drew Dober unless he got a finish. And Makhachev made sure that wasn't going to happen. Got another takedown. More just excellent grappling along the cage. Or no, Dober pulled guard in the third for this one to happen because he was just confused. I don't think he knew what the fuck to do. And that was his ultimate demise. I mean, and the arm triangle that Makhachev eventually locks in and submits Drew Dober with, I mean, he must have a crazy good squeeze, man, because that wasn't the deepest arm triangle.
Yeah.
He just was squeezing hard.
Or just another theory. I mean, do you think Dober was about ready to get out of that cage? I mean,
I think, yeah.
I mean, not mad at him. I mean, he had no path to victory. It's not like he doesn't tap there and maybe he gets TKO'd later. It's maybe that was a smart move.
I mean, at that point, it was pretty much 12 minutes of getting your ass whooped. You know what I mean? No offense to Drew Dober. That's not to take anything away from him. It's just how good Makhachev is.
It might have been
like we were saying to introduce the fight, man. He's the best 14th ranked fighter of any 14th ranked fighter of any weight class. It's almost unfair to have him be ranked 14th.
And then fighting an unranked guy like Drew Dober, yeah, for sure. And then so post-fight fallout, like I said, Don gets the submission victory, gets the finish, which looks real good.
I want him to fight Tony.
He called out Tony. I think it's a great matchup, and I think it's a great matchup for this reason. So, I mean, rumor has it, MMA podcast scene has it, that it's been really hard. Some of the inactivity hasn't been Makhachev's fault. A lot of guys don't want to fight him. A lot of guys turn it down when they get that phone call. That's what the word on the street is. And so
Tony and the guy that turned down a phone call. I'll tell you that.
That's why it's not so much about liking the matchup on paper or wanting to watch this fight, which I like both of those, but it's about picking a guy that won't say no. You know what I mean? And a guy when you're
the history of it too, Tony's gonna be like, oh, I want to beat Kebab's boy. Fuck that guy.
100%. There's gonna be shit talking about Khabib. And then there's going to be also the factor of well, Tony, I mean, you're on a 2-fight skid. You don't have a whole lot of leverage to say no. It's either probably take this fight or get cut. And probably
it's not
if you lose it.
And it's not what do you think Makhachev jumps to? 8, 7, or 8 in the rankings? It's not it's a fight rankings-wise that wouldn't make sense to make happen.
Well,
because Tony's at what, 6, 5?
So I got the lightweight rankings. I got 5 through 8 written down, and we can discuss and debate and mix and match. So 5 is Ferguson, 6 is Conde, 7 is RDA, and 8 is Hooker. And I think I think Felder's 9, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I think Makhachev should probably get 9, and Felder should slide to 10, and then you should do 9 versus 5, Tony versus Makhachev.
Yeah, I mean the reason why I don't even feel like throwing out other names, because it's like, if that's the fight that both of those guys want, which it seems like that it would be, why try to play pretend matchmaker if that's the fight? Now I feel like with Tony, it's a dangerous fight to match up for this reason. Not dangerous, but risky. These are two guys kind of known for like pulling out of fights, right? Like,
like missing their fights. Yeah.
If you schedule Makhachev Ferguson, does that ever happen? Like I mean, half joking, half not. Like, seriously though, I mean, I think it could and probably should and will. But real talk, I mean, that's they better have somebody make weight as a backup fighter for that. I mean, they fucking better. Get RDA or Dan Hooker or somebody to fucking make weight, or Felder. Somebody better make weight just in case. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I could see him doing Makhachev RDA though too, man. Just putting him into the fucking wolves. RDA, poor RDA.
But RDA is a wolf too, though. I mean, but I feel you though. Islam looks to be something different and something special. But that's why Ferguson's cool though, because you kind of don't have the option of slow building Makhachev because of all the time off. Like that kind of burned.
And the hype that Khabib and AKA puts behind him. Like, they put so much hype into him that like we're saying, like, for the 14th ranked guy, like, we all know he's damn near a top 5. It's just a matter of getting him there through the rankings.
And like, the rankings are tricky too, because like Ferguson's top 5. I mean, a legendary guy, coming off 2 bad L's, you know what I mean, or 1 bad L, and you know what I mean, doesn't have as much negotiating leverage, doesn't have, he has a history of missing fights. Like, I feel like, he's getting a little older. UFC's cutting older fighters. Like, I don't know, man. Like, part of me really wants that fight to happen, and part of me feels like it's just like a disappointment waiting to happen.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but I also think that, like, look at the top 4 lightweights not named Khabib, right? So you have Poirier, Oliveira, Chandler, and Gaethje, correct, exactly right. So those 4 guys are kind of on a separate level from everyone else that's 100%. Behind it. So I feel like Islam needs to get a matchup with, exactly like you said, like 5 through 8. Because that's like that next tier to prove that he's in there at least, or better than, so that he then qualifies himself to fight one of those. Because the top 4 guys right now are very clearly the top 4 guys.
I think, who else I think would agree to fight him? When we were talking about one of the best attributes about Tony Ferguson is that he won't say no. You know who else has that same mentality as Hooker? Hooker is not scared. Hooker's openly talked about how
what is he talking about?
Get L's on his record and shit.
What is he talking about after this Chandler fight, though? I haven't heard a word out of him, man. I think
I have. I think he said he's definitely not retiring. He was emotional, whatever. He threw the gloves off, and he said he's down to fight some more. And he said he's also not down to have L's. He's not scared to have L's on his record. He's not trying to protect his ranking. He said all that shit. He said, "I'm a fucking fighter's fighter."
Sick. Fuck yeah, Dan Hooker.
I don't think Hooker would say no. I mean, is that a tough fight and probably another L on Hooker's record? Maybe, but I don't know. And it depends on how he's recovering from that bad knockout. He has that nightmare quarantine thing in New Zealand. I bet he's not trying to go through that anytime again soon. So we'll just see how everything times out. But I'm just saying, I think RDA would be a good grappling matchup for him. Hooker, I think, would be game and not say no. It would probably just have to be probably a month down the road because he wants probably not to go through that nightmare quarantine process again. And then Tony Ferguson says yes initially, but does that fight ever actually happen in the octagon? You know what I mean? That's what you have to worry about with Tony these days.
Got to get in there, got to make weight, and got to actually show up the next day after that.
Exactly. So, yeah, all very interesting. But goddamn it, can you believe we had all that to say? We haven't even gotten to these title fights yet.
Dude, and 3 title fights. So, and this first one, man, like I said, I just watched it not a couple hours ago.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's shocking. So we'll go ahead and dive into it. It's the bantamweight title. It's 135 pounds. The challenger, number one ranked contender, Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain, the fuck master. I said that right. Sterling. Plus 110 versus the champion, Piotr Jan, at minus 130. I always call him Paper Champion or Paper Jan.
Yeah, man. We've been. I won't even say we. I'll speak for myself and nobody else. I have been chomping at the bit for this fight, calling for this fight for a long time. We've both been on the same page of not really thinking Jan's that legitimate of a champion. We both thought that whether it's Sandhagen or Aljamain or on the outside looking in TJ Dillashaw, there's a lot of people that could potentially claim the right of being the best bantamweight in the world, not named Piotr Jan. Or so we thought. And we'll get to this. So, yeah, Piotr Jan, minus 130 betting favorite, current bantamweight champ, fighting Aljamain Sterling, number one ranked contender, plus 110 underdog. Man, leading up to this fight, and I don't know how much of MMA podcasts and lead-up shows and shit you watch, but did you hear a single person pick Piotr Jan? Everybody and their fucking mother were picking Aljamain Sterling.
I think I heard one guy picking Jan, but it was just like one of those things where I was like, no, listen to that. Like his breakdown of it was like trashy and like what I thought was like trash, and I was like, yeah, I'm not listening to that. But like
everybody, I think Chael picked Aljamain. Schaub was like bet the farm on Aljamain. My lock of the week. Yeah, man. Anything else you want to say to build this up, or you want to dive in round to round?
I would just say that like these guys actually like talked a good amount of shit.
Yeah.
In their pre-fight press conference, Aljamain was telling Peter Yan like, "I'm gonna break you in there. I'm gonna break you in there." Peter Yan like, it was super epic. Like, isn't looking at him and goes, "We'll see," and then just like turns like the Terminator and stares him into his soul. It was a great press conference between those two, man. Like, and it's not like. It's rivalry, it's not like they hate each other and there's like emotional, like bad blood between them. It's just like they're competing to be the best, right? And there's like a difference there.
And one additional little sprinkle of this fight had been scheduled once. Jan pulled out without ever, I guess, fully disclosing why. And Aljamain Sterling had been very vocal on social media, kind of calling him out for that, like saying he pulled out, but he never said why. He never get like, I don't know. Aljamain's always been very skeptical. If he did give a reason, I forget exactly what transpired there. But Aljamain pretty much has been talking shit for months, saying that like, he pulled out of the first fight and all this shit. But anyway, so yeah, plenty of backdrop. I mean, as if a title fight needs more backdrop, but plenty of shit talking, plenty of build up, plenty of lead up going into this one. But goddamn, I thought Jan looked fantastic.
Dude, I was shocked by how good he looked. So check this out. The first round, we'll dive into it round by round. I don't want to spoil the result just yet. So round by round, I actually was leaning to scoring the first round for Jan based on damage, but then you see the strike numbers and it was 27-11 in favor of Aljo.
I know.
And it's hard to say that 11 strikes that way 27.
I feel you. It is hard. You got to see like how the fight transpired though, because the vast majority of those strikes took place in like the first minute of the first round. Like Aljamain came out white hot, lightning hot, like kung fu movie, just combinations, wild punches, kicks, just the kitchen fucking sink. He threw the kitchen. He came out like a drag racer.
I was worried when I saw that too, man.
Me too.
It's not how you come out for a championship fight.
No. And then so Jan had the super high sell, kind of reminded me of Overeem. Yes, exactly. It reminded me of Overeem, but honestly works much better with the smaller guys, right? So
because that power, that deflected power isn't near as dangerous.
Exactly, and Sterling's not necessarily known for his hand power either. And
kicks and chokes.
Exactly. So, but Jan just high showed up, kind of weathered the initial barrage, let Sterling kind of shoot his load, if you will, and then and then came back and dropped him, like rocked Sterling bad. Had it in like certain times when a guy gets dropped, it's nothing. They pop back up. Certain times their eyes get about this big, and you see the fear of God in them.
You could see Aljo like respected the power once that shot clipped him.
And then also important to note, at the end of the first round, everybody came into this said that like Sterling has the wrestling advantage by a mile. Jan's wrestling isn't in the same ballpark as Sterling's wrestling. At the end of round one, Jan picked Sterling up and dumped him on his fucking head, slammed him right on his head. And I thought that was like, as obviously it matters like when scoring and it matters in octagon, but I thought like symbolically, like the message that set, the tone that set could not be ignored, and it like was a major factor.
Yeah, I mean, Jan pretty much showed that like he was like, I'm like, you're in my octagon, like,
so
like I'm gonna get after you.
That being said, I scored a 10-9 Jan, and I don't even feel like wishy-washy about it. Like I scored between the end of round takedown and dropping his ass. Fuck those ESPN strike numbers. That's
what I'm saying. Like I scored it based off eye test. So when I said 10-9 Jan, like I'm committed to that score. It was just weird to see 27-11 as far as the strike numbers.
I feel you, but I'll lawyer up against that numbers argument any day with the film and you know what I mean.
And the way those 11 strikes landed and affected the fight, and the way that the 27 from Aljo landed and were deflected and mostly absorbed.
Like those 27 shots were almost a detriment to Aljamain Sterling more than
right. Like he was gassing himself. Like his strike accuracy was like 33%.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Not a lot.
Terrible.
Like he had the high shell guard. Like I mean, I feel it was more of him shooting his load, in my opinion.
Well, and he kind of continued the pace into the second round, which was not great for him either. Still, because Jan was using a super low energy strategy.
Oh yeah.
So
it was.
So brilliant. it was like I had Aljo winning the second round. So I had it 19-19 after 2, but it was like Aljo used like all of his energy to get that far into 2 rounds in a 5-round fight, where Jan looked like he was ready to just like smoke him in the waiting 3 rounds.
See, bro, I'll be real. I scored round 2 10-9 Jan. The quantity over quality thing. Like when Jan would hit Aljamain, his fucking eyes would get about this damn big. Like it was just like he was rocking. Like the power of Jan, I thought. I don't know if Aljamain really hurt him with the strike once in that second round. He said the numbers are definitely on his side, and I'm usually a numbers guy, like usually, but just I feel pretty good. I don't feel as strongly about round 2 as I felt about round 1. I'll round 2 I'm willing to give, and maybe I was wrong, or I'm not dying on the hill on round 2. But I scored round 2 10-9 Jan. I thought the takedown defense was immaculate. Granted, we've debated and talked before in the podcast that you can't really give a guy points on paper for takedown defense, but it's so hard to ignore when everybody and their fucking brother has been telling me for months, not just weeks, because this fight's been rescheduled for months, that Aljamain's going to be able to take down Jan at will. I thought it too. I'm not excusing myself. That's where I thought Aljamain would win this fight. And I thought that putting money on Aljamain was a good bet. But I thought everybody thought that he was going to be able to take him down at will. And then Jan spent round 2 saying, yeah, fuck that analysis. Like, and just stuff takedown after takedown.
I mean, yeah, Jan's takedown defense looked great. The reason I just gave Aljo 2 was that, like, it was, I thought, super back and forth, and that Aljo actually landed some striking, as far as punches was okay, good body kicks, great leg kicks.
Yeah, okay, very fair, very fair. If you're leaning body kicks and leg kicks, I don't have too much of a counter argument. I will say that Jan kind of ended round 2, like, he ended the round strong.
Once again, ended strong. He ends round strong. Dude, Jan knows how to end rounds. He knows how to break fighters. Like, we'll get to that. But, like, he broke Jose Aldo come the 5th round. Like, his style breaks dudes. Yeah, he doesn't use a bunch of energy. He lands hard when he throws, and he deflects and absorbs damage super well. Like, his style breaks dudes.
You know what Jan reminds me of? I'm going to make, like, a little car analogy. Like, so kind of cars can either be, like, super fast off the line, but then they may not have the top end speed. Or some cars can sacrifice the jump off the line for a higher top end speed. And Jan reminds me of a car that's not that fast off the line, but has a way higher top speed. Like, it just takes him longer to get there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and it's probably a choice. Like, it seems like that's a decision, like a game plan that he has. But just the way he kind of the slow build, the kind of crescendo, you know what I mean, of energy output, I think is brilliant and probably understated whenever people are
I
having a
agree with
hard
that.
time understanding, myself included, of understanding of what makes Jan so good and difficult to fight. It's like that bell curve of energy expenditure. You know what I mean?
I agree completely. Um, so you had it 2018 Jan, I had it 1919, tied after 2. Going to the third, I thought it looked like Aljamain was finally starting to gas out in the third,
Yeah.
that's a super dangerous prospect to hold in like your mind's eye if you think there's 2 more rounds with Peter Yan and you're gassing in the third. And so I actually scored a third for Yan as well. So I had it 29-28 Yan after 3. Did you have it to Yan as well in the third? Or did you go
Yeah.
Aljo?
Yeah, I had it to Jan in 3, so I'm at 20. I'm at what, 30-27 at this point. Once again, could not ignore. So Jan started off getting the trips, which still count as
Yeah,
takedowns, even though
that
it's not like
inside
a
trip was so nice against the cage.
exactly, bro. And it's like it's not your traditional wrestling shoot takedown, but it's like, how can I ignore the takedowns against Aljamain Sterling, who everybody said for months is just going to dominate every clinch and grappling scenario. So that just jumped off the screen to me. Also, what you said, Aljamain started to gas. Jan was the much fresher fighter at the end of 3. And then also, pretty much the only thing Sterling up to this point had to hang his hat on up until this point was the significant strike numbers. Well, in round 3, he didn't even have that. Round 3 was the first
Started
round
getting
where
pieced the fuck up.
Jan actually had the significant strike numbers on his side. So it's like I had
Not
Jan
even
with,
not, but not even by a little bit, by like a lot. And imagine
yeah,
that we were scoring his small multitude of strikes bigger than Sterling's like massive load, and then he just quadrupled him out in round 3. Like,
yep. So, I mean, yeah, round 3 looked phenomenal for Jan. And then round 4, I mean, buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. Round 4 is where things get
crazy.
weird. So up at the beginning of round 4, there was a moment where they put this graphic up on the screen where Aljamain Sterling was 1 for 14 on takedown attempts halfway through the fourth round. And like I said, Aljamain Sterling was on paper supposed to have this massive grappling advantage over Jan. Like, nobody gave Jan a stone's throw in hell fucking of a chance against Aljo on the ground. Everybody and their fucking dog said that, you know, if Jan was going to win, it would be on the feet, which I guess takedown defense is part of that, you know, keeping a fight on the feet. But I don't, anybody tells you halfway through the 4th round that Aljamain Sterling would be 1 through 14 on takedowns, they're fucking liars.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, that's what I would think. But dude, Jan looked tremendous. Now, the 4th round gets pretty murky as it can possibly be, but not
Yeah.
really. I mean, it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear, but it's just murky as far as the situation. So to fast forward to it, I mean, Jan's looking great. Aljo's gassing out, is just getting pieced the fuck up. Gets dropped to the point where he's shooting a takedown, or yeah, I think it's shooting a takedown, but gets pretty much stuffed and is on a knee and is trying to still grapple. And Jan gets the like what you would call a tie plum or the clinch on the head, and is like fighting with the arms, controlling the wrists, like switching back and forth from like the head and the arms, things like that, like points of control. Aljo's still on the knee, 1 knee, not 2, important
One
note,
year.
and is using his arm to post sometimes, like he was balanced in that position. And supposedly, from what could be translated live for us, thanks to him sitting outside and knowing DC, was that Jan asked his corner, "Do I kick him?" And his corner said, "Yeah, go ahead."
So real quick, Jan disputed that after the fight. In the post-fight, Jan said that's not true. So I don't know if he's just trying to shoulder the load and not blame his corner and like be a real one, or I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to call Khabib a liar either, but Jan, the official story, Jan denied that after the fight. So I don't know really what side to believe. Jan's explanation was that because before the fight, everybody knows that if the hands down, he's grounded, and the refs hammer home that point of hand grounding
or a knee.
Or a knee, yes, but this is Jan. This isn't me playing devil's advocate. This was Jan explaining for himself. He was saying that like everybody talks so much about the hands making somebody down that I was looking at his hands and like the thought of a knee being down didn't even cross my mind. That's what Jan said. That he just didn't even factor in the knees. That he just was so like everybody always talks about the hands grounding a guy. That he just didn't even factor in he said he didn't even look at his knees. He said he saw.
I feel like that's a bad excuse though, because Mark Smith clearly says in the broadcast he's grounded. Like you can hear him clearly say it.
Yeah, I'm not like pro Jan in this scenario. That's not what's happening here. I'm just saying there was like some kind of controversy between like I feel like the narrative that the UFC was trying to sell and the narrative that Jan was trying to sell. I feel like there was maybe like two different storylines. So I don't know. That's always dicey and murky as we originally alluded to. So yeah, pretty much he held his knee and like if you ever seen the movie Boondock Saints and they execute people on their knees, pretty much did that except it was a fucking knee to the face instead of a pistol. But yeah, and then so the fight was essentially stopped, and it was also controversial. They were like asking Aljamain Sterling, who was completely out of it. And they were like asking him if he like wanted to keep fighting, which I thought was a bad look and just kind of not even it was a bad look, bad protocol.
Fighters were tweeting about it like, dude, the doctor needs to step in there and do his job. Like, this isn't the fighter's decision. Like, Justin Gaethje was even saying that. He was like, this is like medical protocol. This isn't like a fighter wanting to continue or not. This is like, is he okay to continue because that strike wasn't legal?
Yes.
And they're right. And they're right.
100%. And then so fight ends at that point. It's a disqualification to Petr Yan. And by, I guess, on paper rules, that means the belt goes to Aljamain Sterling.
Because disqualified for an illegal strike, yeah.
For an illegal strike. Aljamain Sterling won the belt by getting knocked out with a knee to the face. After the fight, I mean, he was emotional. He was out of it. He was definitely concussed. Aljamain Sterling, like, they put the belt around his waist. He takes off the belt, throws it on the ground. He somehow staggered over to his interview with Rogan, was just like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit. I think it's very important to note that I thought he was getting beat up badly before that happened. Like, he was well on his way to losing that fight.
I agree.
This bantamweight belt just can't get right? First, we have the Dillashaw suspension. We have Cejudo retiring.
Well, dude, you know who suffers out of all this the most? Fucking poor Cody Sandhagen, dude.
Yes.
God damn, man. Like, because now you have to run this fight back. So you get a clear winner. And then Dillashaw's still waiting on the edge.
Post-fight, Chael was saying that, like, you don't necessarily – like, Chael was very anti-Yan in his takeaway from this. Chael was saying that, you don't necessarily have to run it back. Now, I think he's probably the only one sitting in that pew, or in that church. I think that not a lot of people probably share that sentiment. I think the common sense, I think most MMA fans are behind the idea of running it back. But Chael was pretty much dying on the hill that, it should be Sterling Sandhagen next, and Yan should, like, that you fucked up. Essentially, like, obviously not in these words, it was on ESPN, but, like, you fucked up. Like, why do we have to, like, appease you and run this back and punish Sandhagen because you fucked up? I think that argument holds a lot more water if Aljamain was winning the fight. You know what I'm saying? I think I would be right there with Chael on that. I think the fact that man, Jan was kind of beating him up and dominating even the grappling exchanges. Like,
I will say, though, interesting to note, 2 judges had it 29-28 Jan, 1 judge had it 29-28 Aljo.
I know.
Through 3.
But how though? I mean, what round did Aljo? I get the rounds you get. I guess 1 gave him 1 and 2. I guess that judge.
Yeah. And there were some people on Twitter calling for 1 and 2 for Aljo.
Yeah.
But the Twitter scores we'll get into, just like the Adesanya fight, I didn't agree with those.
Yeah, man, for sure. So the fallout is we have a situation here where Aljamain Sterling got the belt like on the ultimate lawyer ball kind of scenario. Petr Yan lost his belt on his own volition. It was his fault. It's really hard for Yan to be upset here. He did that. Nobody to blame but himself. We have a situation here where now we have Sandhagen in the wings. We have Dillashaw in the wings. I'm pretty sure Sandhagen Dillashaw is going to happen. I think it's probably going to be like a fight night, or I'd be down to have that Sandhagen Dillashaw fight night. I don't know. You think there's any chance we get that fight for free?
You're so wrong for not giving Sandhagen this shot at the belt. He doesn't need to do anything else.
Oh, I know he doesn't, but I'm just saying Dana pretty much said that they're running it back. Does Sandhagen sit on ice for a year? I mean, does that turn into an
TJ
Ngannou?
Dillashaw can eat a bag of dicks. He took EPO. He cheated. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I mean, do we have the cheater bowl? Do we have Jan versus Dillashaw and give Sandhagen the next title shot? You
can let him run it back, but let Sandhagen get the winner and let Dillashaw get the loser. Let those 2 run it back and hold those other 2 out.
I think you're underestimating how much time that is. So just saying, if that means
9
Sandhagen
months
sits out for. But what if that turns into 18 months? What if this fight gets rescheduled, something happens? I mean, just to bank on it, just to say I'm not fighting until X, I mean, that's risky. We've seen it. I mean, I don't know.
I just think TJ Dillashaw doesn't deserve it. The other 3 guys, whatever you want to do is whatever you want to do. But Dillashaw's name doesn't deserve to be in the equation. The guy's a cheater. He needs to earn his way back in.
But I think Dana disagrees, and I think it's just the facts of the matter.
Just marketing. I get it.
I think when it's all said and done, that's not going to matter. I think when it's all said and done, when the people that make this stuff happen view Dillashaw right there with Sandhagen, right there with Jan, right there with Aljamain Sterling. I think in the public perception, this is the weirdest part about this scenario. I think in public perception, not of who's the best guy or who cheated, but who's the best fighter, who's the most dangerous. I think Aljamain Sterling may rank 4th based off what we just saw last night. If you have to rank those 4 guys as who would win or who's the most dangerous, not as who's the most deserving or who cheated, but I think that if you had to rank those guys based off what we've seen lately, I think does Aljamain Sterling rank 4 out of 4 with those 4 names?
I don't know. We'd have to see Dillashaw without EPO in him.
Yeah.
Because I can't guarantee that he wasn't on that at any point. I'm just taking a hard stance against TJ Dillashaw, so he's gonna be number 4 for me no matter what.
Okay.
So, but I would say Aljo's number 3. I think Sandhagen's number 1, and then Jan's number 2.
But he's the belt holder, man. What a weird.
Well, I mean, we said this about Petr Yan all the way through, though. I called him Paper Yan, which he was showing me I was wrong about, by the way, until he threw an illegal knee.
I'm just saying, if he's Paper Yan, then is he Air Aljo? Like thinner than paper? Is that an air belt? I don't know, dog.
Aljo didn't even want the belt, so
I know it's hard to hold that against him. He doesn't even want it, which is kind of a real move. Let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it
sure,
pushing.
Yeah.
Because there's no clean, distinct, concise, solution or answer. So it's just conjecture and debate for the sake of conjecture and debate. I guess time will tell. It'll iron itself out.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the UFC. We'll see what they do.
For sure, man. But let's talk greatness, because that's what we're talking next. We got the women's featherweight title. Amanda Nunes, the champ, the GOAT, fighting Megan Anderson, who there's no official featherweight rankings because there's not enough featherweights, in which it's a whole joke. I guess we can get into that too. But Tapology had Megan Anderson as the 5th ranked featherweight fighter in the world, kind of across all platforms. So Tapology has their own featherweight ranking. So she's 5 on there, but kind of just process of elimination, kind of where Kamaru Usman's at, where Kamaru Usman may end up fighting 5th-ranked Wonder Boy because he's beating everybody else. It's just they're just trying to find bodies.
Just anybody, just bodies. Yeah, bodies to fill the void, essentially.
Exactly. But yeah, fighting for the featherweight title. Nunes was the minus 910 favorite. Megan Anderson plus 575. I feel like that got bet way down. I feel like at one point, wasn't she like a plus 1,000? I guess enough people just were like, fuck it, I'll throw 20 on this just in case.
And that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. Is it was so many casual bettors that were just like, I mean, those odds are so great. They're like, hey, damn, if she lands a punch, like I'll turn $20 into like 200 or 2,000 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
But like, dude, at the end of the day, those odds were so correct. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Nunes was so much better from the minute the fight started. It was scary. She was faster in the transitions. She was faster in the exchanges. Her hand speed was better. Her striking combinations were better. Anderson looked physically scared of Amanda Nunes. I mean, it wasn't even a close fight.
Yeah,
I had so many people asking me, hey, do you think Megan Anderson has a shot because those odds, like you were talking about, were so crazy? Dude, every single person, I was like, no. Like, we're talking about the best women's fighter of all time, and it's not even close. And it's not even close.
Me too, bro. This fight, earlier we were talking about they were trying to sell us Santos Rockets, like they were trying to get us excited. They were trying to get us excited about Megan Anderson. I didn't drink not one drop of Kool-Aid. Like, I was like, yeah, this ain't it. Like,
Kool-Aid free dumb. Kool-Aid free dumb.
I wasn't having it. I wasn't even gonna lose my $10 on trying to get it big. Like, I wasn't buying the Megan Anderson Kool-Aid. Rightfully so. Also, leading up to this fight, and I don't know, maybe he's just making content, and my earbuds are running low, but I think we got this. I think we can rock it out. Going to this, Chael was just like, everybody's having lazy analysis on this fight. Everybody's just like, oh, Nunes the GOAT, end of story. And that's kind of that was my analysis going into this fight. It's the GOAT, end of story. But Chael was like, oh, Megan Anderson, she presents certain things and all this stuff. And then I was just like, man, Nunes, man, she's something else, man. And I feel like some of it's physical, but a lot of it's mental, man. She just suns these girls in there. She just big bros them. You know what I mean? She's
just better. I mean, she's just better, man. I wish there was like a more like eloquent way to describe it, and like we could break down all of her technique and shit, but she's just better, like in every single facet of the fight, which is scary to say.
Leaps and bounds, yeah. She was hurting her with her hands plenty, letting the hands go, just rocking her. Just like I said, just from the very first landed strike, it was pretty much a wrap. Just Megan Anderson's eyes got about this big. Panic mode was setting in. She realized she had made a big mistake. And but correct me if you're wrong. I got Khabib vibes here. Nunes gave her the merciful armbar. And I said,
yes, leg triangle armbar, yeah.
Yeah, she definitely could have just smashed her face into a million pieces, but that's why I considered that a merciful submission. Like I said, I mean, she almost ripped her arm off, but still, like she could have just beat the dog shit out of her, and she did it.
Right, I completely agree. Like, and honestly, like, there's just not even a whole lot to be said about this fight other than Nunes just dominated the fuck out of her.
Dominated the fuck out of her, 100%.
This division's probably wraps. Like if that's the question, like it's probably wraps, man. She's cleaned it out. She's beaten like all 3 or 4 or 5 of the women that are like world class in that weight. There's no point. Collapse it. Just make her the bantamweight champion.
Yeah, man, and it sucks. Like I don't want that to be the answer, but that's so clearly the answer, right? You know what I'm saying? Because like I mean. Unless you just let it be inactive for like a year or two, see if a name emerges. Because the only thing that sucks is that Amanda Nunes made it very, very clear that she doesn't want that to happen. She likes having 2 belts. Even if one of the belts is kind of like, well, there's nobody to fight for it. But she likes having the 2 belts. She's earned the 2 belts. I think she would view it as a demotion if they took away the division and now she only has 1 belt. Now, is that enough reason to keep the division? I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying I personally, as just a fan of Amanda Nunes, like, do respect her wishes, and I do think her opinion matters on the situation.
Yeah, but what if the UFC was real about it and like essentially like this is gonna sound bad, but like pimped her out to fight in other leagues, like signed like 50-50 contracts with other leagues so that she could fight their champions for leagues that had weights higher than 135. Because the UFC just, I mean, it does not cost effective for them to roster 10 to 15 women at that weight when they're not competitive for a belt.
I feel it, man. I feel it, but
So like imagine if she would
things
go to
go
like
in
PFL.
cycles, though. But what if, like, 8 years from now, that it's a dope ass division, just like happened with flyweight? Like, more
True.
women are lifting weights than ever. That's more accepted than ever. I mean, what if Meg the Stallion decides to lace them up? Not just playing about
What's weird, man, is I think about it a lot of the time. Like I think about a lot of the like. There's a lot of girls I know I feel like could make like 145 and like not be like out of line doing that.
yeah, I mean, what if like some WNBA player decides they can make more money, or like, I don't know, man. I'm not saying they would beat Amanda Nunes, but I'm just saying Amanda Nunes, you can't look at it so like, you got to zoom the microscope lens out a little bit. It's like that now. That's like, I don't know, at a time in football, the triple option was considered unstoppable. Like, what if, you know what I mean? It's just like, what if
True.
it's just kind of a cycle, a phase? Like, what if it catches up? You know what I'm saying? Father Time's undefeated. I don't know. I could easily see a scenario where, dissolving the division is the best decision. But I could also see it being a little bit short-sighted and maybe regrettable in 5, 7, 8 years. But what if, that proves to not be the right move long-term? So I don't know. I feel you. Right now, the cupboard is bare bones. They need to go stand in that wick line. That cupboard is bare bones. But, yeah, Nunes is the GOAT. Megan Anderson wasn't ready in my hashtag Kevin Hart voice. And, I guess we can keep it pushing.
Yeah. You want to introduce the final fight?
Yeah, man, we got the light heavyweight champion, Jan Blachowicz, plus 200 underdog, fighting in the light heavyweight title versus the stylebender, the last stylebender, Israel Adesanya, minus 250 betting favorite, even though he was coming up from middleweight. And I can't say I blame him. I was super confident on stylebender to pull this off. I definitely was telling people all week that I thought it was going to be stylebender. I'll be real. I didn't give Blachowicz much of a chance. I mean, I'll put it this way. I gave him the Polish power puncher's chance that kind of everybody was kind of keeping in their back pocket, right? But what transpired, the chance of that transpiring, no, I didn't think there was a chance in hell.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'll completely agree with you, man. Like, I thought that if Jan was to win, it was going to be by like KO, TKO, like rocking Izzy, putting a bunch of damage on him, and like finishing him outright. I never thought there was a snowball's chance in hell. To be very honest, no offense to Jan, man. People always bet against him, and I think it's time for me to stop doing that. But
I feel you.
But I just thought Izzy would be able to outstrike him over the course of 25 minutes, and realistically, I mean, I think Izzy might have outstruck him over the course of 15 minutes, but with the last 10 minutes of pure grappling domination by Jan, I mean, I mean, and we can get into it, but round by round at least. But I mean, I thought Jan was just clearly the better fighter last night.
Yeah, and Izzy's narrative about size not mattering as much. Sorry, fellas, to disappoint you, but I think Jan proved a old-fashioned point that size matters. And yeah, let's get into it round by round. Round one, man, I saw a 10-9 Blachowicz. It was tricky though. Could easily see people giving this round to Izzy. I thought Blachowicz won the round in a vacuum, but at this point in the fight, I wrote down in my notes that I thought he was making a mistake strategy-wise by playing into Izzy's style. Like, he was having a B-range kickboxing match with the fucking stylebender. So while on paper, I mean, I think he almost doubled him in significant strikes, and I gave him the round, I did think that he was making a mistake and playing with fire.
I almost completely agree, man. Like, I scored it for Blachowicz as well, first round. But I also thought, like, Jan needs to get, like, a closer range because Izzy was starting to, like, get a bunch of leg kicks going. Like, and even though his striking volume was less, we had just seen the Aljamain Sterling fight where I thought, like, all right, well, the volume isn't going to be near as important as, like, how these strikes carry on moving forward. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
fair
but
enough.
then Blachowicz came out in the second round and looked tremendous. I thought that he easily won the second round.
See, bro, I'll be real. I was super, super like coin flip on round two. I actually leaned Izzy, but I may have been like kind of too much in my head overthinking it because once again, so I was already like, okay, Jan Blachowicz is making a mistake keeping it at this kickboxing style. And then round two was a whole nother round of kickboxing. And I said, maybe it was my own bias of just like, okay, well, if it's a kickboxing fight, Izzy's winning it. Like, so I don't know if I was kind of assuming too much or I don't know, but I did give round two 10-9 Izzy, but you know, I thought it was super close. I was teeter-tottering, you know, I'm not dying on the hill.
I think both the first 1 and 2 rounds you could kind of go either way with.
Fair.
Which is crazy to say. Now, round 3 I actually thought was Izzy's round. I thought Izzy started to open up more and controlled round 3. So I gave him round 3.
Wow, I actually disagree with you, man. I had it very close, but I had 10-9 Blachowicz round 3 because I really like I said, maybe I was putting too much on the styles of where the fight was taking place. But in round 3, Jan Blachowicz was able to get in more of a clinch, nasty it up, muck it up, make it more of a brawl. And like I said, I thought that played into Jan Blachowicz's like I thought that just looked better for a Jan Blachowicz win. I thought he was upping his chances for a win by making that file that, and I thought he kind of, Izzy clearly didn't want that style of fight. So I interpreted that as kind of imposing his will a little bit and kind of taking that, the beginning stages of getting that fight where he wanted it to be.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I can definitely see that point. And I think that is right. I think you're right with as far as like the breakdown of how psychologically that played into the fight. I mean, so you had it what through those rounds 29-28 Blachowicz?
So through 3 I had it 29-28 Blachowicz exactly for 1 and 3
and I did as well.
But just a different round.
Just different ways, right. So like in the fourth round, Jan got his first takedown that he secured and like actually got top position. And at that point, man, I think everyone realized that if that happens at any point in the round, it's over. And like Jan wins the round. Jan clearly won the fourth, no questions asked.
Well, there were just points where, and sometimes size doesn't matter, and sometimes talking about size can be an oversimplification. But at that moment, when Izzy was trying to like bridge, and couldn't, there was a car on top of him essentially. I was like, right. Dog, size matters some. Like it's not the end all be all, but for you to talk your mouth for weeks just saying that, and I think my headphones officially just died, but
you were good. I could hear you.
You can hear me?
Oh, you couldn't hear me. Yeah.
No, all right, cool. So we're good. Yeah, almost done here. But yeah, once it was just everybody there, everybody on TV, everybody watching clearly knew that at that moment size did matter, and a light bulb went off on Blachowicz's head. It was just like, oh, this is much better than trying to kickbox with him. And I think, yeah, it was just that turning point, that fork in the road moment whenever Blachowicz was able to get this fight on the ground, was able to keep him on the ground, have a lot of success on the ground. I think at that point, everybody, debatably, even Izzy, knew what kind of was about to go down in the fifth.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened in the fifth. The exact same story. So, I mean, and not to like wrap it up too fast, but like the fifth had like no real entertaining moments to me, at least. Like it was nothing that was like high drama or like very suspenseful.
I'll be real, man, and maybe this is a reach. I thought watching Izzy be controlled on the ground was entertaining just because it was so rare. Like it's see.
I agree with you in that sense. I just meant like as far as like the scoring.
Like,
oh yeah. There was nothing that was like, oh, this is like hard to score, like back and forth, anything like that. Like it was pretty obviously Blachowicz. I didn't think either round was a 10-8, 4 or 5. Did you score either of those 10-8?
Me neither.
One judge did have a 10-8 in one of those. I was very surprised by that. 2 judges had it 49-46, which we both had.
Yeah.
One judge had it 49-45, gave Izzy a 10-8, or gave Jan, I should say, the 10-8 in round 5, I believe it was. So very
Yeah, man.
surprising, man. And like it just showed, like you're saying, that like being the bigger man like matters. It matters
It matters less in striking, like in boxing or
for
kickboxing, it
sure.
matters less. But when that weight's on top of you and you cannot get it off of you, it fucking matters. Like, you can't tell me otherwise. Like, it did matter. It mattered a whole lot. And yeah, man, I mean, it kind of sucked to watch. I think we were all ready for the big, super fun party that would have been Izzy being a double champ and all the fun conversations that leads to, and the inevitable probably matchup with John Jones, and you know that's just craziness. But I think we're still left with plenty here. I think what we're left with here, what I took away from this was pluses for Blachowicz, not knocks on Izzy. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought this was like an affirmation of Blachowicz's skill and not like showing that Izzy was in any way worse or not good.
Yeah, and the ability to implement a game plan too, because you mean, how many people have gone into the octagon with Izzy with the exact same game plan on paper that Blachowicz walked in there with? I mean, a lot, and they've all failed. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
his ability to implement that game plan and to not like turtle up or freeze up. I don't know. I thought he did a lot to solidify himself. I thought he's a legit 205 champ, man. I mean, I think he's gonna give almost anybody that weighs in at 205 trouble. I mean, you can always want to have the John Jones debate all day long if you want, but the thing is it seems to me like John's firmly in the decision of heavyweight, and maybe years down the line, Blachowicz and him fight. But I said Blachowicz is also much older than John Jones. Blachowicz is 38 years old. Like, you know, how long does Blachowicz just fight just for time's sake? You know, how long does he defend the belt just for time's sake? I think the very obvious path forward is for him to fight Glover next, who's also,
Yeah, I agree.
that's who he called for after the fight. Makes all the sense in the world. You know, Glover deserves it. Lots of fans, probably more fans than Blachowicz has, like, worldwide. You know what I mean, as far as pay-per-views goes. So I think that's a no-brainer. Then as far as what's next for Izzy, very clearly, obviously going back to 185. And then, you know, there's a bunch of rematches he can have. There's the whole, if Hamzat can ever get his shit together, you know, or not even shit, that's the wrong way to word it. It's his health, you know, if he can ever get
his health straight.
Yeah. If he can get his health, you know, that's an exciting possible option. There's, you know, who knows what happens next for Izzy. I just thought everybody said the word Polish power until like it was so just corny and generic. And it didn't really come into play all that much. I don't think there was ever
I would agree.
a moment where in a stand-up scenario, he hit him with the Polish power and Izzy couldn't handle the Polish power. I thought that storyline proved to not be really into play at all. Just Jan's wrestling, which maybe people just thought that there was no scenario in which Jan was going to be able to get him down and keep him down, which, I mean, there's a lot of precedent to make us believe that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that this also answered the Izzy versus John Jones kind of fight as well. Like, John Jones is a better wrestler than Jan and is probably as good or better boxer than Jan, as well as a better kickboxer. So
a way better athlete, like ×3 athlete.
Yeah. So like, I think this gives us our answer that like weight matters, and also like John Jones is the GOAT still.
Man, I'll be real, man. I'm super excited for this 205 division, man, because if Izzy did win the double strap, the other 205ers were going to be affected by it, and not in a good way.
It was going to devalue the other 205ers.
It's going to devalue because, like, is he going to fight a Yuri Prohaska, or is he going to fight, you know what I mean? Would he have fought a Glover? Would that have robbed Glover of his title shot? Or what, you know, and then the focus would have been on John Jones, and as Adesanya jumped to heavyweight, and then there's like a vacated title. It could have got real messy at 205, and instead I think it gets really, really fun at 205. They said we got Reyes fighting Prohaska on the horizon. We got Blachowicz as an established real-ass champion, not a paper champ on anybody's account at this point. You know, we got, like I said, Prohaska is like a young lion on the horizon. Reyes, you know, is established. Can he kind of get it back, you know, heading in the right direction, heading, you know, back towards the gold? You got Glover, you know, like I said, legend, probably maybe future Hall of Famers, and you know, can he get his second shot at the belt after maybe almost retiring in 2018? So there's a ton of fun to be had at 205, and also you seem like there's guys that are down to fight, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fun division moving forward. I think middleweight's fun moving forward. Yeah, I think it's good to go.
For sure, man. And that was episode 38 of Beefy Boys Breakdown. Subscribe for video on YouTube, or if you prefer your podcast on audio, you can find it anywhere you get your audio podcast. That's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. I mean, there's a million of them out there, smaller ones. But, yeah, and then follow us on Twitter at Beefy Breakdown. And then another good episode, an amazing card last night, man. I had
dude, 259 card of the year so far, no doubt.
And then next week we get Bilal versus Leon. So I mean,
yeah, excited to see Leon Edwards. Excited to see Leon Edwards back next week.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Bilal gets his big shot. Leon finally gets somebody to get in the octagon with him and potentially secure himself as a #1 contender.
Right.
If Muhammad can pull it off, that's chaos in welterweight, right? Like this.
Yeah. Wild stuff.
A lot of fun stuff, brother. Love you, man. Have a good day. I'm about to drive to Tahoe right now. We're about to pack up and head to Tahoe. So
nice, man. Be safe. Be safe. Drive safe. Enjoy it.
Take it easy, bro.
Later, bro.